council had a very long agenda for closed session, so they're expected to come out any minute now, so.
Closed session. We get a roll call.
Councilmember Lowenstein.
Here.
Councilmember Horvath.
Here.
Councilmember Obaji.
Here.
Councilmember MD.
Here.
And Mayor Pro Tem Narenheim.
Here. Mayor Brand was not here for the roll call, but he was here in closed session. Are there any reportable actions?
Yes, just a couple this evening, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. Under item F3, the council unanimously authorized the defense of the McDonough versus City of Redondo Beach Cal Water Service Company case, as well as authorized potential cross complaint. Under item F4, we were also joined, did not announce Brandy Forbes in our opening remarks, but we were joined by Brandy Forbes for item F4.
Do we need to announce what we...
No. We're
right.
okay on that.
All right, so that brings us, sorry for being late. We're gonna adjourn to a regular meeting, 6:23 p.m., 6:22. Sorry for being a little late. We have a packed closed session, as you might have been able to see, and things took a little bit long. Thank you for waiting. So can we get a calling to order? Can we get a roll call, please, for a regular open session?
Councilmember Lowenstein.
Here.
Councilmember Horvath.
Here.
Councilmember Obaji.
Here.
Councilmember MD.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Narenheim.
Here. All right, we're gonna do a salute the flag with a moment of silence directly thereafter. On three. 1, 2, 3.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. All right, we will do our, we'll do the presentation. First, we have the Friends, the Redondo Beach Art Group. Hello, thank you. We'll do you guys first, and we'll do council announcements. So you guys want to come up to the podium and give your wonderful presentation. I see that we have our wonderful art book here.
Yes,
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. So everyone understands this is a presentation from Redondo Beach, California Art 101.
Friends of
Art
Redondo Beach Arts regarding the CA 101 art exhibition.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Yep, perfect. Thank you. Yep, go for it.
Well, thank you very much, City Council. I'm Susan Lappin. I'm the administrator for CA 101. And the Friends of Redondo Beach Arts 9th Annual CA 101 Contemporary Art Exhibition was held this year in the Redondo Beach Historic Library, September 2nd through 18th. We are extremely grateful to Mayor Brand and to the City of Redondo Beach for allowing us the opportunity to mount our exhibition in this beautiful historic location. Throughout the process, it was a pleasure to work with all the dedicated city employees who helped make the exhibition a success. CA 101 is an international juried exhibition that is offered free of charge to the public and with no submission fee for the artists. It takes a minimum of 6 months to plan and execute and is fully supported financially through the generous sponsorship of local business and private donors, as well as by countless hours of work from over 60 volunteers, including the ROTC cadets of Redondo Union High School. CA 101 enriches our community by bringing thousands of visitors from throughout Southern California, the greater Los Angeles area, and the South Bay to not only our exhibition, but also to our Redondo Beach shops, businesses, hotels, and restaurants. The 2022 exhibition attendance was approximately 3,000 guests. In light of the COVID pandemic, we were very pleased with the number of attendees, as we really didn't know what to expect. Some people came to view the art. Some had never been to an art exhibition before and were very curious to see what it was all about. Others were excited to see the inside of the library itself, some for the first time, and others with fond memories of going to the library as a child. The most common thing we heard people say over and over again was, "There should always be art in this building." We also had a number of children attend who were awed and inspired by being immersed in so much art. It was a joy to hear them share their impression of the exhibition with us. With the city's current plan to repurpose the historic library, the exhibition allowed a glimpse of what the building would look like filled with art and open to the Redondo Beach community. CA 101 is the signature event of Friends of Redondo Beach Arts, a nonprofit 501c3 organization. Our mission is to enhance the quality of life for the city of Redondo Beach and other South Bay communities by providing art and cultural experiences. We are dedicated to making the arts an integral part of the South Bay's experience by helping to bring the highest quality arts and arts education programs to our residents and visitors. To that end, CA 101 2022 presented several different types of media, including we started with a celebration, an opening reception with jazz music that was attended by approximately 700 guests, fine art from 72 selected artists with 13 site-specific installations. 26 of those artists were from Redondo Beach. This was out of a total of 1,374 total submissions from 151 artists. Print media. 1,000 museum quality catalogs were printed and distributed to each attendee free of charge. Music, we had a special jazz concert at Sunset. Poetry, we had a live poetry performance. Education, we had a plein air painting class in the gallery. And dance, we did a line dance class outside of the library. CA 101 is only held in the city of Redondo Beach. It has been staged in multiple locations throughout the city over the years, including the Palos Verdes Inn, which was our first exhibition, the AES Power Plant, Pier Plaza, the South Bay Galleria, an empty storefront on Avenue I in Riviera Village, Gold's Gym in King Harbor, and of course, the Historic Library. CA 101 would not be possible without its founder and curator, Nina Zach-Ladden. Israeli-born Nina and her husband, Michael Ladden, have lived in Redondo Beach for over 35 years. They have 4 children and 9 grandchildren. Nina is an accomplished artist and a curator, studying both in the United States and in Italy. She has made a vital and significant contribution to our Redondo Beach community and the art world over the past 30 years. She's the co-founder of a number of arts and cultural organizations, including the Friends of Redondo Beach Arts, the Redondo Beach Arts Group, TEDx Redondo Beach, and she chaired a public arts task force for the city recommending the establishment of the Public Art Commission. She's the founder of the Redondo Beach Art Group's Power of Art exhibition and the co-founder of CA 101. And yeah, here I am. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm going to quickly take you behind the scene with what it takes to put such an exhibition. And the first thing is that we need a space, and we need the space 6 months prior to opening night. The reason for it is that we need to fundraise and we need to do artist outreach. And we can't ask for people for money saying, we'll do an art exhibition somewhere, sometime. So we have to have the space and we have to have the dates. Then we do an artist outreach, and we have to give the artist 3 months to prepare the work. We ask for current work, so you can't pull an artwork from your closet from 10 years ago. So most artists would work specifically for the exhibition, and they need time to produce it before the deadline for submission. The site-specific installation, which is my favorite thing about curating, is the most exciting part of CA 101 in my view. And we invite the installation artists to the space to be inspired by the space, and then they have to give us a proposal of what they want to do. In the event that we accept their proposal, they have to start working on the materials for the site specific, and then they get to come 1 week prior to all the other art and construct their installation in the space. At that point, after the selection, and we know which artwork are in the exhibition, we have to produce the catalog in front of you. This is truly a work of love of myself and the art director, and it takes a month. After that, 3 different proofreaders read the catalog. At that point, we're almost ready to get into the space. We need about a month before opening reception so we can transform the place into an art gallery. In all cases, we return the space in better condition than we found it. We paint, we clean, we put lights, we get ready. The kind of space that we want is about a 10,000 square feet space. It has to have natural light, windows. So when people have these great ideas of why don't you do it at the basement of Beach City's Health District or at the hallway of City Hall, it doesn't work. It needs accessibility for the public, that they can always go there. So places, for example, spaces at the school district do not work. So we're looking for a space that is empty. So I'd like to share a little bit about my history with the historic library. Spectrum Catering, specifically Jason Carter, were great in providing for the community. The Redondo Beach Art Group met on the first Wednesday of the month for a few years, maybe 15 years there. They provided coffee, they did the chairs. We even held the first TEDx Redondo Beach live speaker event at the library, but it was on a Thursday, no weddings on Thursdays. He supported us in many ways. So I have with me the request for proposal for the historic library, and I see what you want, and it's super challenging to create a mixed use place there. If we hope to have CA 101 2023 at the historic library, you might consider accepting, letting the operator come in after us. So we could still have it before the equipment and the chairs and the curtains and all the stuff that an operator of the facility will bring in. In the event that we will not be able to do it, the historic library, which will be a disappointment for a lot of people in the community, we want the city's support and help in finding a different location. There are two things we don't compromise on. One is it has to be in the city of Redondo Beach. We are doing it for the love of art and the love of our community, the city we live in. And I get tons of offers. There's this great empty building in Torrance. You should go see this old factory in El Segundo. And I say, no, I do it only in Redondo Beach. And the second thing we don't compromise is we don't charge. That's why fundraising is so essential for us. It's free, as Susan said, for the artists. It's free for the people. We don't have VIP event. Everybody in Redondo is welcome to come. And everything you see there, you get free of charge. So with the hope for a great CA 101 2023, I also want to thank the city for making 22 such a successful exhibition. I know that you guys realize the importance of having art in our community. It brings the community together, people volunteer. And in the case of the last CA 101, it brought a lot of goodwill to elected city officials and city employees. We couldn't stop telling everybody how much the city did for the success of this, the last year exhibition. So thank you all so much. If you have any questions, we're here.
I just want to thank you, first of all, because one of the biggest comments I got from people was, to your point earlier, they hadn't ever been to this location. They had the first real ability to walk through the entire building, not just a piece of it. Saw every little room and nook and cranny. So thank you very much for doing that and having the accessibility there and being open for as much as you were, because people appreciate that, starting there at Labor Day. So yeah, thank you. Let's see here. I don't have if I'm not part of the meeting here. Anyone put their things up?
Sure. Ms. LaDonna, I also want to say thank you. Thank you for keeping it in Redondo Beach. I did not get to make it down. I was in trial prep for a trial that got continued ultimately, but I'm looking at the booklet now and this is absolutely amazing art. And I heard that it was amazing for people who went there. And I appreciate how modern, recent the art is. I'm looking at these Ukraine pieces, especially the shell-shocked Kiev Zoo. These are amazing. So thank you for making Redondo Beach its home, and I'll do everything I can to continue to support the arts here.
And this is fantastic. We have one sitting on our coffee table now.
Oh, thank you.
It's really
Thank you.
great. Thank you.
Councilmember MD.
Ditto, I thought it was fantastic, as you know, when we toured it, and the climate change, I'm looking at it again, I still love that piece. And so everything was fantastic about it, and you always do a great job. I still remember when you were at the AES power plant, and just, it was an art piece in itself. And so I cannot say enough good things about all the work you do and your committee does. So thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Horvath.
Yeah, and I don't think people realize how much time and effort goes into this, especially on your part and the, like the executive team, if you will. So having worked with you over the past 10, 11 years and watching you, it is quite amazing. And I think the best part is that, as Laura just mentioned, each different place it's been in has been turned into a piece of art in its own right. And so it's been really interesting to explore the city through California 101 in many ways. So you will be sorely missed when you retire from curating this.
Thank you, Christian. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any members of the public that want to comment on this or went down there, wanted to say anything? Okay. Thank you. All right. So going back to our normal, regularly scheduled agenda, Councilmember Lowenstein, do you have any announcements for your district?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Yes, there will be no community meeting District 2 for December. We're giving everybody the month off because of the holidays. Almost 2 weeks ago, I joined Mayor Brand and Historical Commissioners Morocco and Colin down at the Ainsworth Court staircase. And it was actually in the newspaper this last week. There's a picture of it. There is a historical marker that's been placed there. It's beautiful. And for those of you that don't know, the Ainsworth Court staircase was the main staircase leading from Hotel Redondo, which was a sister property to the Hotel Del Coronado down in San Diego, which operated, I believe, from 1890 to 1925 or so. It's a beautiful historical marker, so I want to thank the Historical Commission for being behind that and all the good work they did. I encourage all of you to go down there. That is right near Veterans Park. There's a parking lot near there, and at the top of that staircase near Veterans Park is where that historical marker is. The next thing I'd like to talk about is I did attend the boat parade this last weekend, and thank you for the invitation from the King Harbor Yacht Club for hosting a party for that. It was great. Not a ton of boats, but they're all incredibly beautiful, incredibly decorated. So thank you for that. And then finally, Mayor Pro Tem Nierenheim and I and some other folks attended the memorial for former Redondo Beach resident Bruce Ellis this last week. For those of you that don't know, Bruce was a very active member in the community. He used to live in North Redondo, and he cared very much for the city. And I want to give my condolences to Bruce's family, his twin daughters, for their loss. Bruce cared a lot about this community, and it was a beautiful ceremony. So that's it. Thank you.
All right, Councilmember Horvath.
There will be no December District 3 community meeting. We'll be back in January, so happy holidays to everyone.
Councilmember Obaji.
All right. I'd also like to say thank you to the King Harbor Yacht Club. That was an awesome boat parade event to see the boats. That was my first time being able to see them. Pretty cool. We will have a District 4 holiday town hall, so there's nothing really on the agenda. We'll get an update from Al Catterton on where they stand on the Galleria, when they expect construction to begin, how they're doing on their leasing and financing. That'll be this Thursday, 7 p.m. It's on the 3rd floor next to the AMC. It's open to all Redondo residents. I mean, we're not really going to check your ID to make sure that you live in Redondo either. So, but what I do ask is that you shoot me an email if you do plan to come, so that we can make sure we have enough goods for everybody, hot cocoa, coffee, etc. So, 7 o'clock to 8:30 tomorrow. And that is about it. Thank you.
Councilmember MD.
Just to remind people, December 20th is the menorah lighting here at 5:30. Also a great event. And Troop 788 has 3 new Eagles coming up. So we have 3 more certificates that are done. And just to make you realize how amazing that is that Troop 788 has so many Eagles, only 4% of scouts actually make it to Eagle. And it seems like we have an Eagle coming out of that troop every month. And so I've just sent an email to staff, though. They are having an issue. They teach cooking. And apparently this troop has been around since 1957. And they suddenly got told that they needed a permit to be able to cook at the park. So let's make sure we have a concierge service to help them get through that. So anyway, I'll be doing a referral to staff later, but I've sent an email on that as well. So thank you.
As long as on a waiter service.
Nest of Eagles.
All right, I got a couple of updates. Yeah, first I want to thank this council for signing Bruce's certificate, and Ms. Cronenberg over there for getting the certificate going for Bruce Ellis. His widow was very touched. And if you knew Bruce, he had a long-standing history in Redondo. He actually ran as a write-in candidate, and he actually helped Bob Pinsler run in back in the 90s, 30 years ago. And if you read his story about his sister actually had a really good story about how when they moved from New Jersey, she got a speeding ticket leaving New Jersey, and then his brother got pulled over in the Midwest, and guess where the cop from that place was from? Redondo Beach, California. Guess where they're going to? Redondo Beach, California. So yeah, it was a fun story. It was great to see members of the community there, and it was really, really good. So yeah, it's been a long week for myself. Last week I said I went to the state Supreme Court. Next day on a Wednesday, they had a holiday party event for gathering for ICA on Thursday night with Cal Cities and Contract Cities. Contract Cities is a sister organization to ICA in downtown. It was great to see. And the reason I bring it up is because I got to meet our new sheriff. There's a new sheriff in town. And they literally
Sheriff-elect?
Sheriff Luna.
Sheriff-elect or sheriff?
No, he got sworn in
All right.
last week. So politics are all about relationships, and I got a good 10, 15 minutes actually with him in the beginning. And it was great to meet him. He's got a lot of things he wants to accomplish. So it was good to start that relationship with him. And then last night, went to Hermosa Beach's City Council to give outgoing council member Stacey Armato and Mary Campbell some awards and some thank you gifts. They do a wonderful swearing-in ceremony the day before on a Monday night, as do a lot of other cities. And that way, everyone can kind of get some time for the going away of the council members, and the incoming, they kind of take care of a couple of housekeeping items and everyone gets a few speeches. And that way, the next day on Tuesday night tonight, they get a regular meeting all set, ready to go. And I think here in Redondo, we should probably do maybe the same, because as per the city charter, the term starts on the first of the month following the election. So that'll be for us to be April 1st. So it's something that I would kick around and think about doing here in Redondo, because it's great to see other council members in other cities in events like that. And they're very, very appreciative. And we work together very closely with Hermosa and Manhattan and Torrance, so on and so forth. So I had a great community meeting on Saturday morning. I want to thank the Chief Hoffman and Lieutenant King for coming down. We talked about e-bikes, all about e-bikes. I got a lot of emails from people who wanted to come down and check out, hear about the e-bikes and conversations. Don't worry. Monday, December 19th, which is coming up this week, 6:30 p.m., we will have the police department via Zoom, all about e-bikes. A lot of great questions. It will be recorded, so you can watch that as well. Hermosa Beach is doing a lot of things regarding e-bikes, and it's very important. So with that, and of course, Santa's sleigh ride is moving around town. Check the website, and everyone's getting very excited. You hear the sirens going off. Don't worry, no one's in trouble. It's Santa coming down the street. So without further ado, approval of order of agenda. Do we have the agenda as is? Do we want to move things around? I think
Approve the agendas.
I've got a request. Can we move, please, N2 and P2 to after J,
In that order?
in that order, N2 and then P2. They should be fairly quick.
Okay, so motion to move items N2 and P2 to directly after
Participation on non-agenda items.
non-agenda items. Is there a second for that?
I'll second it.
Okay. All right. Any other discussion, comments on that? All right, all in favor? Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
All right. Let's see here. All right, blue folder items. No agency recess. Do we have any blue folder items? I think we got one.
Yes, there was one. It was under J1, non-agenda items. There were several emails sent. That concludes items for blue folder.
That's J1. Okay.
One.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Perfect. All right, so that leaves us to consent calendar items. Tonight we have only 6 items on the consent calendar. We're going to approve all of these in one fall swoop unless one of the council members pulls an item. You will be able to speak to any one of the items on the consent calendar. Councilmember Lowenstein, do you have anything to pull? Councilmember Lowenstein, Horvath.
No, thank you.
Councilmember Baji.
No, thank you.
Councilmember MD.
No, thank you.
All right. I don't pull anything either. Is there anything members of the public that would like to speak to any of the items? Seeing none. Are there any Zoom comments?
We do have 4 attendees, so we'll ask anyone that wants to speak on consent items to raise their hands at this time. It doesn't appear so. And let me check really quick on the e-comments just to tell you if there's anything submitted. There were no e-comments submitted for the consent agenda.
Approve.
Second.
All right.
So I didn't hear the motion in the seconder. Thank
Second.
you.
All right. All in favor? Aye. Pass unanimously. Do you have anything to read?
Yes, I have some resolutions to read. Adopted by title only, resolution number CC-2212-111, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Redondo Beach, California, amending the official book of class specifications for the position of Public Safety Communications Manager. Also adopted by title only, resolution number CC-2212-112, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Redondo Beach, California, amending the official book of class specifications for the position of Communications Supervisor. And lastly, adopted by title only, resolution number CC-2212-113, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Redondo Beach, California, amending the official book of class specifications for the position of Police Records Manager. That concludes items approved on resolution, by resolution.
All right. Thank you. So this leaves us to public participation on non-agenda items. This is going to start, we got 30 minutes for this. We'll do 6:50. You get 3 minutes per person. We will not be responding to any of the comments being made tonight. You can say anything you want as long as it's not on the agenda or regarding anything on the agenda. We will be taking these cute little orange cards first, then we're going to in-person, then we're going to Zoom comments, and then back to in-person. You get to speak once for this, and then that is it. So without further ado, the first one is Sue Brilliant. And after that is Ron Morocco.
My name is Sue Brilliant, and I'm zoning District 5. As a volunteer for the Beach Cities Health District, I look forward during the holiday season to supporting the Holiday Gift Bag Project. And it gives me the opportunity to perform some community outreach in a personal way and also to spread some cheer in the community. I don't always get the opportunity to do that. Each holiday season since 1998, the Beach Cities Health District led the Holiday Gift Project. Thanks to generous community members and organizations, we provide gift bags filled with practical and fun items to around 265 Beach Cities older persons and adults with disabilities in the Beach Cities Care Management Program. Many of these individuals are homebound or live in isolation, and the holidays can be a difficult and lonely time for them. Last year, for the 2021 season, we provided grocery gift cards to lower-income individuals. We also provided stamps, a 2022 calendar, snacks, hand sanitizer, holiday cards created by our youth in our community, and more items depending on our funding. To make this year a bit brighter, we will continue on this tradition of stuffing the bags with essential personal care and household items, as well as distributing the gift cards where needed. In the city of Redondo Beach, 192 residents are Beach City's clients of the care management programs. I'm really grateful to the Redondo Beach Fire and Police Departments who assist us with the delivery of all those gift bags. Through their in-home services and care management programs, the district improves the quality of life and helps maintain the independence of older adult residents and residents with disabilities within the beach cities. Care managers provide confidential in-home visits and assessment along with recommended care plans and frequent follow-up to support independent living at home while staying connected to the community. Care management is available for older adults ages 60 and over and adults with disabilities, 18 to 59, living in Hermosa Beach, Manhattan Beach, or Redondo Beach, and I'm grateful to support the program. Thank you very much. Happy holidays.
Thank you. All right, after that, we got Ron Morocco. Come on down. And then it's open mic.
Thank you, members of the council. And I came down here specifically because I wanted to thank Mayor Brown and Councilman Lowenstein for attending the unveiling of the Ainsworth Court Staircase Path of History marker. And for those of you who haven't been there, sunset's the best time to go look at the marker. It's really amazing. I also want to thank the council and the city staff for reinvigorating this program. It's been over 10 years since we last had the blast marker unveiled, which is out in the outside of City Hall. But it's been part of our project to bring this Redondo history outdoor and into the community. Just so you know, our next two Path of History signs are projected to be at Old City Hall, Old Fire Station, as well as going outside of the original town site at Aviation High School. We have about 35 signs that we would like to be out there in North, Central, and South Redondo. And we do encourage the members of the public to visit the Path of History webpage on the city website and sponsor a marker and make a donation so we can get a lot more of these out there. Since I do have a minute 53, I'll go on to my second point. And this relates to the Ito Family Parkette. The council generously approved renaming the parkette in the honor of the Ito family at Flagler and Ripley. We have had the Public Arts Commission. They came up with some amazing conceptual drawings. I know that during the interview process, one of the people who came up with the drawings had an opportunity to talk to you. And it's going to be a wonderful historic space for our community, our schools to learn about a longtime family of the community, as well as the shameful events that happened to our Japanese American community members during World War II. Now, these conceptual drawings have been reviewed by the Public Arts Commission, by the Historical Commission, and the Recreations and Park Commissions. I don't know when it's going to make its way to the council for approval, but I understand it's going to be part of a CIP proposal. But as a first step, I would hope in the meantime, and I think it would be beneficial to have a very small dedication plaque about the size of 1 foot by 10 inches, so that the Ito family who's getting older can have an opportunity in the community to see that this park is being dedicated in their family. And I think it would be a nice thing and recommend that the council get that taken care of. It doesn't cost that much to put out there. It can be small, but it'd be a nice first step. And then the last thing with my 17 seconds, January 21, we're having a Charter Day celebration at the museum. It's the 74th anniversary of the charter, and we're going to have a special exhibition and the public's invited. Thank you very much, council.
Thank you, sir.
Can we get a receive and file motion for the material?
Set. Yep. All right. Anyone else from the public wants to come down and speak? Any Zoom comments?
Just a moment. Oh, we do. Sophia Zapata would like to speak. Just a moment.
Hi there, and thank you for, let's see if you can see my camera. Thank you for letting me speak. I do have a couple of questions as far as Section 8 housing and how I can get a listing. I have a cousin who is legally blind and she has a housing voucher, and we have yet to been able to find housing for her. I've gone online, I've looked on Zillow, I've gone to Craigslist. Is there any housing listing available for people that are disabled that need a little bit of extra help, seeing that she cannot see and do her own search?
So we can't really answer questions. If you just take your time, I'll give you an answer as to who to contact directly. Are you finished?
That was just my question. Yes, because I did call the City Hall and it's a recording, and then they're like the housing list is full, or the waiting list is full.
So we have a housing authority, and housing authority is under Cameron from community services.
Yes, and we do have a third party that can help provide assistance as well that we could connect the individual with. So what I would suggest is an email sent to cameron.harding@redondo.org. And with the specific inquiry, and then we'll make sure we match your service request.
Okay, great. Thanks so much.
And his name and email address are both on the website as well if you look under community services. So, okay?
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Pleasure to help. Anyone else on Zoom?
No one at this time has raised their hand. I'm going to check really quick for e-comments to see if there are no e-comments either.
Anyone else in person? Going once, going twice, going 3 times. All right. We are done with that. So onwards to item N2, discussion possible action regarding implement a concierge program to assist businesses in the city. And I cannot tell you how exciting this is because just today I got a question on exactly this thing. Brandy, or Craig, actually it's Greg Kapovich.
Yeah, Greg, are you in the cloud there for us?
Is Greg online via Zoom?
I don't have to unmute him, so he shouldn't have to have any trouble if he's signed on. Let me just check for you. He's not signed on.
Okay, well, Brandy, why don't you introduce the subject, and Dave in particular, and we'll let Dave cut loose for the presentation.
Sure. This is, certainly a joint effort with the different departments for a business concierge program. This was a strategic plan item. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Dave. Dave's one of our newest employees in the Waterfront Economic Development Department, and has really kind of taken this on. So I'll turn it over to you.
Before he starts to speak, I did want to tell you that Greg Kapovich is signed on as a registered attendee, not a panelist, and I've unmuted him, so he's ready to talk whenever you want him to.
Thank you. Greg, if you wouldn't mind, brief introduction for Dave.
Yes, thank you so much. Can everybody hear me?
Yep, sir.
All right. Greg Kapovich, the Waterfront Director. We've got an exciting program here, really meant to be an effort to make City Hall outward facing, to really make the process for obtaining a business license or a building permit or a planning entitlement a lot more easy to navigate, hopefully with identifying issues on the early onset so we can establish expectations and timeframes. And I've got Dave Shirobi, my new employee, our new senior management analyst, who's going to walk you through a presentation tonight.
Great. Thank you, Greg.
Can we share the screen?
There you go.
Good evening, Council. My name is Dave Shirobi. I'm the new Senior Management Analyst with the Waterfront and Economic Development Department. I'm going to give you a brief overview of the Business Concierge Program. I'm going to cover the issues that kind of, brought the idea about, some of our recommendations for how we can help improve the process, and let's get into it. So some of the issues that have really kind of motivated the exploration of this project have been really some of the customer experience that some members of the public have had coming into City Hall, whether they're looking to get a business license or get permitting done. They're finding that they have to reach out and speak with multiple different departments, whether it's planning department, waterfront and economic development department, finance, et cetera. They're finding that the process can sometimes be confusing. Sometimes the website isn't necessarily user-friendly. I think somebody told me that it was originally designed in 2002. So it's a little bit outdated. Sometimes some of the information there is outdated. And we're looking for ways that we can really kind of streamline and improve that process. Another thing that we have sometimes received in terms of feedback has been that expectations are sometimes unclear. Sometimes timelines may be unclear because, there's a lack of information either on the end of the customer or our staff on our end. Although usually it can be that there's just not a full amount of information where we can arrive at, a proper timeline to give them that clear expectation of what it's going to take, what information is going to be needed, and what the time frame for that information being processed and getting back to them is. So sometimes it's a little bit opaque and it can be a little bit confusing. And I'm sure, Council, some of you have heard some of those similar types of feedback from members of the public. So our proposal and our recommended action has been to establish this business concierge program, which will have a primary point of contact for that initial info gathering stage, identifying a member of the staff, especially Waterfront Economic Development Department, easily most of the time could be me, and really having that point of contact who would gather information, provide information up front to the customer to kind of give them that set expectation, and also to meet with other members of the staff here at City Hall to know what types of questions to ask, what types of questions, what types of permits are they going to be getting, what types of work are they going to be doing, is it a business license, are they looking to expand, do they need a CUP, getting those types of important pieces of information up front so that there's no surprises further down the line because of a lack of communication. So that's really going to be a key part there, and also helping to deliver kind of a good customer service experience up front so that the member who's interacting with our staff has those clear expectations of what they're going to be expected in terms of timelines and what types of documents they may need given what they're trying to do. Another recommendation we're going to be doing is that we update the website, that we can produce an updated information to distribute, like flyers, and really have these messages give some clearly defined expectations. I don't know when the last time some of us have actually looked at the permitting process on our website. It's a little bit archaic, it's a little bit old, it can seem a little bit complicated. Some of the data has been outdated. So what we're really looking to do is to cut out some of the old information, streamline the process, and in the process also make the website a little bit more user-friendly, a little bit easier to understand, and really do some much-needed cleanup on that end. Another part of the proposal is that we have consolidated comments. So really having just one defined communication with the customer so that they have all their comments in one area and they're not needing to sift through multiple emails. And this would also really help the city on our end to help have an improved relationship and communication in between departments. So every department kind of knows what the other one has been providing to the customer in terms of information, and it really would reduce the probability of any miscommunication or any contradictory information being given to the customer. I also want to give Brandy a little bit of a moment as well too. Brandy, I don't know if you have anything you want to add to this process.
Yeah, actually, we're going to be starting the conversation between the different departments. Actually, starting tomorrow, we have a meeting scheduled, and some of the we've already started looking at or updating our website. It's definitely a big lift because it seems like there was a lot of information piled on information without really cleaning things up, and that's what we're trying to do is streamline that so that people have the information they're looking for, not necessarily the information that's, the story that's being told on the website, but rather what are they looking for and making sure that that's there. We also are going to be looking at doing a kind of a flow chart of what the expectations would be for, if this, then that. We've all seen flow charts and, in our different media, and just really to allow people to understand, am I going to need this kind of license? Am I going to need a planning approval? What type of planning approval? Why is this going to the planning division before it goes to the building division? So it's really clear and something easier for somebody to understand and have an idea, just even looking at that, of what it's going to take to get from start to finish on an application. And with that, then being able to work with Dave and the Waterfront Economic Development team, especially with with businesses. Because there's even more than just the planning and building. There's also licenses. So
Great, thank you, Brandy. So our staff recommendation that we're going to be making is that the council directs staff to implement the program as described. We think a lot of these improvements are very common sense improvements that could really improve the experience of members of the public who come in and interact with our organization, and streamline that process, make it easier, more user-friendly, and hopefully help cut down on a little bit of the stress and headache that would come with going through the process.
And thank you, Dave. And a couple of points I'd like to make as we consider this. This is obviously a preliminary strategy as much as anything else. We're not showing you a pamphlet. We're not showing you workflows. We're not showing you the changes that we're ultimately going to make to the website. This is really us issue spotting and determining how we want to move forward. I've heard from all of you separately, sometimes collectively, as it pertains to questions and concerns raised by our business community when they're coming in and trying to understand how they ultimately build their proposed project in town. In the interim, in a most immediate step, Dave Shirobi is going to be a point of contact for those individuals, those prospective businesses. As this program evolves, Dave won't be enough on his own. There's going to be too much interest, I believe, for one individual to triage everything that comes into the community, into the city. So we will have to eventually vet and filter what rises to the level of concierge service and what doesn't. Ideally, that would be a business that's accretive to the general fund, or a revitalization effort that might help a corridor and really help kind of the neighboring area. As it relates to community development, as we issue spot, and Brandy's and she and I've had multiple conversations on this, we are immediately and have begun scrubbing our website. She's started that process. We will continue that process. As we move and enter into the new website, we hope at that point to have the ability to post very clear workflows that will describe our very basic building processes, whether it's a streamlined permit for an ADU, a solar project streamlined application process, or something far more comprehensive that candidly is going to require somebody from our planning staff to help understand and vet and describe, I believe, for customers ultimately what they're going to have to provide as it relates to plan sets and various applications and submittals. So that's our goal longer term, is to create transparent and obvious workflows that will be clear to the prospective builder so they can understand what process they're going to follow. In the meantime, any of you get a question or a comment about a prospective business, not one that's already in the queue, because we've assigned Luke to help with this. Brandy and Lorena are working on troubleshooting some of our existing building and development issues. But if you've got a new business that's saying, hey, I don't know where to begin, I want to cite potentially a business on Artesia Boulevard or Aviation or down in the Village, Dave's going to be your point of contact. Send them to Dave. We'll make sure Dave's contact information is very clear on the website. That's step one. Step two is going to be us collectively working together to build the communiques that are going to allow the building community to read this on their own and better understand what their expectations. The next step I would mention is internally. One thing we're doing now, and we often get accused of this, although it's not always our internal staff's issue, but sometimes it's just a lack of understanding on the part of the prospective applicant. But we are going to endeavor to begin to host cross-department meetings as a single check review. Rather than planning has an individual check, building has an individual check, and engineering has an individual check, and thereby oftentimes comments being returned to the applicant on a piecemeal basis for certain projects, not all projects, but for certain projects that have a little more order of magnitude, we are going to begin to hold multi-departmental meetings where we can have single study sessions, single comment checks, and then we can distribute those comments in a single document. That is something Dave will help triage and coordinate. And then ultimately, that is something that Brandy and her team and our engineering team will be building into as a matter of general workflow. So I want you to be clear that this is not the end product. This is the starting point of us implementing the concierge program. We have a very long way to go. But it is something that is very top of mind for us and something that Dave in particular was brought on to help us triage and ultimately implement along with Greg and the rest of the waterfront team on the economic development side. So it's going to take a collective to work, but we are committed to that. And hopefully 6 months from now, after we've got the website up and running, you're going to look at the community development webpage and go, oh, you know what? It makes very clear sense to me what I have to do if I'm this type of business or that type of business and I want to do the following. That's our goal here.
Music to my ears, so that blueprints or designs get turned in for a particular project, you don't get different sets going to 2 different public works or fire or wherever else. And then they get approved separately or together, but different designs. Thank you. Okay. And yeah, I'll be asking, actually, somebody else hit me up today regarding some stuff. So this is work in concert with some sort of online system that allows them to track.
Absolutely. Those are the other two things that are running parallel to all this. This is, all these things are synergistic, obviously. Online status checks. We've implemented Bluebeam software to help to expedite our own internal reviews and to help better coordinate with prospective applicants. We will be actually implementing, we are out there looking for software that will provide for online workflow for permitting purposes, not just comments and exchange of PDFs or emails. So that's another portal that we'll ultimately be building. And we've had quite a bit of interviews with prospective software providers, and I know Luke and Lorena are looking forward to bringing that recommendation to all of you. So, it all starts with the website. But what we don't want to do is just wait on these items and then have the website and then start anew. We're trying to bring as much of this collectively as we can. So when we fire up the website, there's some meat to it. It's not just a new, jazzy page with more to come. That's our goal.
Perfect. Thank you. Councilmember MD.
Thank you. Okay, so when this was first discussed a long time ago, it isn't just about our interdepartmental communications. It's also, if you're going to be a true concierge, so if a restaurant comes in and wants to open, that it's not just about our process, this is about who do they need to contact? Are they going to serve liquor? Here's a contact for ABC. Here's who you should talk to for whatever a restaurant might need, so that you can at least give them kind of a point of contact of who to go, and that'd be in that customer service side. And when you're putting this together, I hope the idea isn't just how to make the checklist easier. It's how to shorten the checklist. It's how to make it so that it's not so complicated that it's a convoluted website type of thing to do. And you mentioned this, and I appreciate that you said this, that it isn't just going to be his job, because what if he goes on vacation and then everything falls apart? Right. It's going to be more about him communicating who the points of contacts are for the different steps that they have to take. So then that way it's not that they're bugging him all the time. They're only going to come back to him if, Jane Doe isn't responding to him, or if it's past a deadline and Jane Doe hasn't responded. They'll be able to call him rather than having 5 council members be called to go solve this problem, right? So I do appreciate the flow chart. I hope that if you see the flow chart is going to take 67 pages, that perhaps we should relook at this flow chart. So I just want to make sure that's extremely clear. And customer service doesn't just stop at Redondo. It's overarching what it was going to do. Sure. And in simplifying the flow chart, it would be nice as if, you had somebody who came in and did all the different things. What would we measure as success? What's our measure of success on this? So is it that business comes in and is from the time they walk in until they can open their doors, is there a certain time frame that's reasonable? And then, because I'd like to have this measurable. El Tarasco on Artesia Boulevard's been, working on their building, it seems like forever. And so I'd like to see a success in which, now true, you can't control the business owner, and I know they're going to have their problems, but we need to be able to have, if somebody's coming in, getting all their stuff, all their checks in a row, that this is going to be complete. I want to avoid things like, when CVS opened, they were 1 week away from opening, and somebody comes in and says, "Oh, you need an ADA ramp here." And everybody just went scrambling. Meanwhile, they're filling up their merchandise, and then they're suddenly having to call someone to get an ADA ramp put in. So things like that. So that's the kind of thing that I'm seeing that you would avoid and troubleshoot. I see you more as a troubleshooting role and a connection role, how to connect everybody to. But I don't want it to be that you're the stopgap if you're not there. Okay.
Yeah,
are we on the same page on that?
Absolutely. All points well taken, and couldn't agree more. I think that when we say expectations, what we're actually setting for us are timelines. If a prospective developer says, I have a solar panel project permit, we should have a clear workflow, and we should have an expectation, both internally and externally, that says your plan check you'll have initial response within a week, 2 days, whatever it might be. If it's a more complicated project, our initial plan check review should be responsive within 1 to 2 months, or whatever it might be. We need to set our own expectations to hold ourselves accountable, as well as for the building community to come in and say, okay, I've got this type of project. I can reasonably expect the city to perform under these timelines and milestones. That's what Dave means by setting expectations. And I think that's going to be really critical. Right now, we don't have it. We don't have a metric standard post-COVID for any of our workflows. It's nebulous. And I see that as a concern on both sides of the equation, holding our own staff accountable for performance, as well as creating, I think, anxiety within the business community to say, I don't know when I should hear from you. Is this a year-long project? Is this a 2-week project? Help guide me here. And I think that's really something that internally I'm looking forward to us implementing as quickly as we can, because managing expectations or lack thereof creates consternation for all of us. And it creates more questions than sometimes we have answers for. And we find ourselves scrambling to respond to questions that could be better spent time directing workflow and responding to comments and plan checks. So we have a lot to do here, a lot.
100%. And you, in your expectations and what happens, let's just be honest, what happens is that, Jane Doe puts in an application, and then John Smith is after Jane Doe, but Jane Doe's sitting there very patiently waiting for a response back. But because John Smith is called 17 times, we respond to John Smith. And so that's why those metrics and expectations as to when you're going to get a call back is really important. And it also, business community do not like uncertainty. And so the more certainty we can give, the better off we are. But I think the key thing is managing your workflow to make sure it's not overtaxing to people. Right. Thank you.
Couldn't agree more.
All right, Councilmember Baji.
All right. I do think it's important to take stock of where you are doing well. And even in some of the gripes that I've heard from some of the businesses open up Artesia, what staff has done a great job at is having a record of the communications that they've had with the project applicant or the builder, and chronicling that back when the person complains, and basically saying, well, we gave you this back on such and such date and you didn't get back to us and you've kind of dropped the ball on your resubmission. In addition, I'll say on solar, I just had solar panels installed and they never, the contractor was able to do it and got their permits from the city, no problem, and it was quick. So there are no complaints from that, and I didn't get involved.
We don't often hear about that.
No, yeah, right,
The good
exactly.
experiences
So at
aren't
least on
usually shared with us.
solar, I think you guys are doing well. What I would like to say is in that experience with one of the restaurants on Artesia Boulevard, that when they were complaining, one of the things that they said was, and we've discussed this, Mike, but one of the things they just said is, well, staff never told us that we needed to have fire sprinklers. Now, okay, anybody who's, been in a modern home knows that residential has had a requirement to have fire sprinklers for a long time, let alone commercial. That's got to be an age-old building code requirement. And so my question is, whatever checklists you're giving out to folks, I think you got to make sure that one, either it's completely comprehensive and accurate or it doesn't exist at all. Because giving somebody some guidance, to the extent that was true, I don't know that it is, but giving somebody guidance that's not complete is, it gives them the experience, a bad customer service experience. Because then they think, well, I relied on what you gave me, and now I haven't completely done my job. This is a terrible experience here in the city of Redondo Beach. Versus if you say nothing at all and just say, hey, get your architect to build to the building code and the plan, whatever codes are applicable both in the city and the state, then you've left the obligation on them. So what I'd say is for sure, if you come up with checklists for commercial building versus a residential building, that every year you audit them to make sure that they're updated with whatever changes at the state level and frankly anything that we've passed at the city level to change those. So I'd hope we do that. I agree with kind of simplification and putting in some metrics to know how long it's taking to get things back. Let me just make sure there's one more thing I wanted to. And one other thing that I do now that you have, I'm sorry, what was your name again?
Dave Schroby.
Dave. All right. Now that you got Dave, is maybe go do a secret shopper at a jurisdiction that's known to be very business oriented. I don't know what jurisdiction that is. Very, very builder oriented, project applicant oriented, and say, hey, I want to do this. I want to open a restaurant on such and such street, and just see what is it they give you. What's the experience like? What do they lay out as the timeline? And let's just figure out what the best practices are in other communities and try to incorporate those as far as what's facing outward towards the residents.
El Segundo would.
El Segundo is the one.
El Segundo, there you go. Easy enough. You don't have to travel far.
That's a great suggestion, council member. That's actually something that we have discussed in previously. So thank you. That's a great idea.
Okay, great. And that's about it. But I appreciate you all being open, despite the fact, Director Forbes, that you've been in this office for a while, being open to this kind of transformation. And moving forward with it while you're handling so much else as well. So
Yeah, thank you. And to the first point that you had made about, somebody saying, I didn't know, I was told later, or I didn't know that I had this. What we have discovered, and I'm sure some of you have seen that when we're giving the updates, is sometimes there's a there's a designer, there's a contractor, and there's the owner. And there's, with them, they're not always communicating the same information. And so we'll get that complaint, that they didn't know about it. Whereas, when we go through that record, it's demonstrating that, yes, this was communicated. I think once we get that permit software system and they can track it, they're going to be able to, the owner's going to be able to see that information and know what the contractor's been told and what the designer has been told.
That would be excellent. Yeah, I agree, because that's, I think, what just happened in our instance. The architect was not informed of the feedback from the city. So whatever system that you're communicating with, just make sure everybody, all the actors who could be acting on behalf of the project applicant or developer get the information, the same information. That would be great. Cool. That's it for me. Thank you.
Well, or in when you're asking those questions, do you have a contractor? Do you have an architect? Who do you have? So then that way, whatever gets sent out gets sent to all of them, right?
Right. That's a great point.
All right, do you need action on this?
Yeah, I mean, I think these are obvious, as Dave mentioned, I think common sense implementations. And I think, I can't imagine a scenario where you're not supportive of all these changes. But yes, technically, a recommendation is to direct us to implement as we've discussed and incorporate the input you've provided tonight.
Is there any member of the public want to speak to any of this? Anyone? Come on up, sir. No, you got to come to the podium if you want to speak and say anything. Okay, is there any Zoom comments? Yes, can you state your name and
the Redondo Beach. It's called, my name's Peter Leo Barrera. I grew up at 537 Range Lane all my life from 0 to 18. But at 2, my family kicked me out of the family. But I was still able to stay there until I was 18. And then I moved to their other house in Torrance. Otherwise, I just want to say you guys are the best in the whole wide world. You guys got the best everything in the whole wide world. The best police force. Everybody's the best, but why can't I get fixed? Because something's wrong with me, I think, and I'm trying to be better, but I had to say, I just happened to see this. I didn't plan on coming to no meeting right now. Okay, so they kicked me out of Rite Aid again. I apologize for that, but I didn't do nothing this time. They're just, what? You can get kicked out of almost every place in Redondo, but I'm still going to go back just because hopefully that'll give me another chance to act normal. I hope I act normal right now because all I can say is you guys are the best. In reality, and I can't say nothing wrong ever happened in Redondo until you guys let me come here. Why don't you guys finally get rid of me? Because I want to get something done with my life because something's wrong here. No, but really, I'm just being honest. You guys are the best, and I just want to say thank you. I can't even believe I'm up here talking. I'm just like amazed that God let me do this. What's that?
It needs to be on this particular item, that's good. We got your point.
Oh, cool. Then thank you, and thank you for letting me still be here. Bye.
Okay, thank you, sir. Anyone to speak to the business aspect of this? I'm all right. Any Zoom comments? Sheila Lamb, are you there? Miss
I
Lamb?
am.
There you go.
Yes.
You've got the floor.
Thank you so much. Can you hear me?
Yes, go for it.
Great. Okay. I'd like to thank you, council members, Mike Wazansky, Dave, Brandy, Greg, and everyone who has been involved with this concierge program. And bringing it forth at the end of this year, I'm in 100% support of this. This effort reflects the new vision for Redondo Beach that sees the relationship between the residents, the businesses, and staff as partners in this effort to move the city forward into the 21st century. By increasing the ability of all parties to communicate with each other in effective and streamlined and timely manner. I can't applaud all of you enough for the effort that you're making. I can hear by the conversation from Brandy and Mike and Dave that this is a very complicated issue. So I want to applaud everyone for this. Again, bringing us to a higher level of communication among all stakeholders. I have one suggestion, and that is that at some point the point person, the concierge person, could be thinking about going outside of Redondo or even inside Redondo to recruit businesses that reflect the values and wishes, desires, and vision of Redondo Beach staff and residents. That would be wonderful, kind of a proactive approach in that regard. And let's make, like El Segundo, let's make Redondo Beach a business-friendly city. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right. Any other Zoom comments?
I have no other Zoom comments and no e-comments as well.
Okay, is there a motion?
Motion to proceed as discussed and continue the concierge program development.
All right,
Okay.
motion second.
Yep. Any other discussion on that? Comments? Nope. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, item passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. And thank you, Greg, if you're out there still. And welcome to our new employee. Great to meet you.
Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you.
All right, awesome. Onward to item P2. So P2 is discussion and direction, no action regarding the amendment to our sole employee. So everyone thinks in Redondo Beach that every single employee is the council's employee. That's just simply not the case. We only have one employee, and that employee is actually the boss of every employee in the city of Redondo Beach. If you saw on recent closed session items, we had a review of our single employee for the last couple of times, and as per the contract, we need to go through it. And if we don't go through it, we don't. And so now we've come to the point in time where we're going on the employment agreement, and you can see on the staff report, we basically just have the employment. We didn't include the contract for Mr. Wazanski. We did include Councilmember Baji put in excerpts from last week. Is there anyone that wants to start off with any of this?
Sure. All right. So, may I?
Yeah.
All right. So, as part of this process in our closed session meetings, which I won't get into, but we designated a subcommittee to meet with Mr. Wazanski and negotiate on his behalf, act as his representative. So Councilmember Nierenheim and I were on that subcommittee and met with the city manager and discussed, his expectations as well as his experience so far in the role. So just to back up and give some history, we hired Mr. Wazanski about a year ago. He was the assistant city manager under the prior city manager. And at the time that we hired him, we knew that he was a great pickup because other cities wanted him. I had had limited experiences with him, but everybody else had worked with him for a long time. So we knew that he was a great asset to retain if we could do so. And we also knew that we'd be sparing him the job search that he'd have to undertake if he went to every other city. And so, and interviewed and went through that whole process. And we just gave him, hey, here's an offer to work here in the city where you've been for a very long time. And so with that in mind, at the time last year, we struck a really good deal, almost too good of a deal with our city manager. And in that deal, we called for reviews to occur every year and based on metrics, not just, hey, seems like you're doing a great job, but actually going through criteria. And so our mayor pro tem came up with a checklist, which we each went through with the city manager, or gave him scores, and we went through and we gave to him or will be given to him. And so as part of that, we have an opportunity, as part of the contract, we have an opportunity after conducting a review in October to make any adjustments to pay. And as we've been finding out, as you've also seen, we've been in negotiations with our police department recently over the last month or so. But we've come to realize one thing, which is, and we've had Lena from the employees union come and speak to us in response to some of the comments made up here and give us sheets showing how much employees in other cities are paid. And it's become clear that for one reason or another, the employees in the city of Redondo Beach have been paid less than employees of other cities. And that might first blush, you might think, oh, great, we're doing a good job of saving money. But I posit to you both as an employment attorney and as an employer myself, and have been for almost 10 years now, that's not what you want to be. You do not want to be at the bottom of pay when it comes to your employees. We, as you can tell just from the last item, and that's why I put the item up ahead of this item, we are striving to be the best city that we can be. We are striving to have the best police, fire, public works, city attorney's office, you name it. And we want our employees to perform at the highest level. You cannot do that, and you do not do that by paying them the lowest amounts. So it is our goal so far, from what I've heard from my fellow council members, to get our employees, we're not going to get them to the top, but at least get them to the median or the mean of their peers. And so Mr. Wizanski's pay was set at $250,000 a year. And when you look around at his peers right now in Manhattan Beach, the city manager is getting paid $280,000 a year, and Torrance, $283,000, El Segundo, $270,000, Pasadena, $330,000. Haven't got Hermosa, but I'm gonna guess it's not below $250,000. And Mike Wizanski has done a phenomenal job by accounts of everybody, from our staff to our fellow city council members. So I am intent on rewarding phenomenal performance with recognition that comes in the form of accolades as well as pay. And I am advocating for and wanting to advance, in consideration of my discussions with Mr. Wizanski, a $15,000 pay increase, which equates to 6% of his pay increasing, as well as extending his contract for one additional year, adding an additional year to it. And this isn't projecting any additional increases in pay for future years. This is just a one-time increase, and we can reevaluate any changes that are needed after the next year, next review period. And what I'll say is this: I don't believe and I don't support a one-time bonus of $15,000 because people need security in their pay, especially in this inflationary environment. And the best thing that we can give them as a reward for their hard work for our city and for us is security in their pay and recognition through their pay. So I make a motion to increase the city manager's pay by $15,000 and increase the term of his contract by 1 year. That's all. Thank you.
So Councilmember Baji and I differ on this, and I let him go first on this because I brought this up in my community meeting this last Saturday, actually, and I asked very specifically performance-based, one-time or continuous update. And, a lot of other executives in other areas, you have a salary-based, right? But you also have goal-based, and you have, if you have accomplished said goals, you get a bonus on top of. So I am of the thought and recollection of giving him a 2.5% increase and then getting some sort of a one-time bonus per year based upon what we find in the closed session as an awarded to hitting those goals. And one of the reasons why it's important, I think, that we go down the path of said bonus and goal-oriented, I should say, goal-oriented pay, is there's a joke in the city council world / city manager world or actually city world's council mayor form of government, where a city manager only needs to understand how to count to 3, 1, 2, 3. And so what that means basically is you have 5 council members, you hire and fire based on those 3 votes. And to me, the problem with that is, and I've had this problem for a long time, is, you look at councils and you need a city manager that performs overall in the city and figures out ways to get things done so that there isn't a council member that says, hey, if it's 4-1 council, that one council member has still things that need to get done. And then that city manager is goal-oriented towards helping get those things done. Now, I've been in a 3-2 minority. I'm clearly now in a 3-2 majority. Mayor Brand has been a 4-1 minority. I've seen councils where There's 4-1s, they're unanimous, it's all hunky-dory. I think it's important at the end of the day that we set objectives and they're quantifiable, especially as we move on in council positions. We set a direction and tone in the future, because when I show up to city council here and we did our first city manager review, we had nothing to go on in terms of how to review. And I want to set a clear objective moving forward. So for future councils, we know what to review on and we know what the objectives are and goals are. And we went over those goals in closed session. So everyone's on the kind of the same level playing field, regardless of what side of the fence you're on. So, I didn't go over any of the details of my community meeting, but I'll tell you, my community meeting, the residents all there were very much in the same category of performance-based objectives. And, it's up for us to decide here in the council in closed session what those goals are, and to go accordingly. So I don't see any hands up from the council here. Any members of, and we can't, just so everyone knows, we can't give any actual results tonight. All we can do is talk about it. We have to actually agree to send the city attorney to go back and amend the contract and come back at a second time and finalize a contract, any contract amendments. And our city manager also, our sole employee, also has to agree to that, and he can have, say no. So that's an important, this is a two-step process. So any members of the public want to come down and, Councilmember Lowenstein, your hand is up.
If anybody'd like to speak first, that's fine.
And anyone members of the public want to come down and speak? Anyone? Any Zoom comments?
We do, she put her hand down. I guess, no, we do not, and we do not have any comments.
All right, come on down.
My name is Douglas Seeker. I've had contact with several city officials over a period of years, and valuable employees, they just don't come by very often that really carry the load. And I've had 2 occasions to speak with our city manager, and he returned my calls. He listened to my concerns, and I was really impressed at the amount of time that he gave me. So really do, on all of your employees, which is one you're saying, really do consider, look deep, that you can look out into the field and you may see, we can find someone else, but someone who's dedicated that much time and then can come back to a member of the community and take the feedback and give feedback is really impressive. I've had conversations with some of the council members here too, and I was really thankful that as our employees, you did listen to me and you did get back with me, and that mattered. It really did matter. And so really think deep and think positive that in this time of change, in this time of flux, we have someone who's dedicating a lot of time, even off the clock, to keep the city moving. So, please give that consideration. I'm thankful that he did when I was, in discussions with him. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other members of the public?
Yes, Ms. Sheila Lamb on Zoom. Just a moment, please.
Ms. Lamb.
Hello. Good evening again. Sheila Lamb, District 4. I think the word phenomenal is the right word for Mike Wazensky. And I would like to particularly point out that due to his long experience within the city of Redondo Beach, he really understands more than anyone what needs to be done. And not only that, he has taken clear action, swift action to move the city forward in in ways that he knows that all of you want the district to go. The city to go. So, as the prior speaker said, think carefully. Think carefully about the phenomenal job that Mike Witzansky has already done and will continue to do in the years ahead. He needs to be compensated well for all the residents, for all the staff. He's been wonderful. Phenomenal is the right word to describe what he's done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
No, and there are no e-comments again.
Okay. Councilmember Lowenstein.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, as well for your comments. Let me just start off by saying these reviews are obviously an indication of the last year, how Mike's performed, as well as what we see in terms of the future of the city. And I think by all stretch of measurement, Mr. Witzansky's done very well. There are many things that we've had pile up over the last few years. I've been on the council now almost 6 years, I guess. And I think this has been the busiest year that we've had in recent memory on the council. Even with everything that happened in COVID, I see very, very, very full agendas. And a lot of things are getting done. A lot of checklists. I think all of us up here have a certain number of things we want to get done before we're out of office. And I think by that measurement, Mike's done really well for the community. He's been very responsive. He's been proactive. I know he reaches out to me, and I'm probably sure he reaches out to the other members of the council and the mayor in terms of making sure that we understand what's on the plate and what's coming up. I would agree with Mr. Abaji that we need to bring Mike up to closer to where his peers are. And so I'm also in agreement with giving him adequate compensation to do that. He's shown over the last year, like I said, that he's performed well. And I'm very optimistic for the future of the city. We've got things like the harbor amenities plan that's going to be rolled out, a new website, good communication. We've got new employees that are coming on. That the hiring's been great. And, it's a complicated city. There's some cities that are much bigger than us. Torrance is a much bigger city. Manhattan Beach is a bit smaller, almost half our size in terms of population. But there are very few cities in the LA basin, other than maybe the city of LA and Long Beach, that have as many things going on and as many wheels turning, whether it's litigation or land use or other things, than Redondo Beach. It's really impressive. And so it's a tough position to be in. As a city manager, you can get blamed very easily for things that are beyond your control and maybe not enough praise sometimes when things go well. But I'm very happy with the job Mike's done over the last year. I'm glad that we hired him. And I'm more than willing to go with Mr. Abaji's suggestion of bumping up his pay to make sure that he's continuously motivated. And I will say one other thing, and this goes not only for Mike, but all of our employees. Whenever we have money, we will work to make sure that you're compensated well in measurement to your peers. We've got great employees in the city. And I want to make sure that we let people know that we really appreciate all the extra hours that you spend. And I'm looking at all of you in the audience, but I'm also talking to the folks that are at home and maybe reading the minutes. We value you. And one of the ways you show people you value them is compensation. So again, I'm with Mr. Abaji on this.
Let me just clarify that my motion is to direct the city attorney to come back with an amendment to the contract with those terms.
And that's good with me.
Can I ask the effective date? Do you want it to be on the day I bring it back, which likely won't be till January, or I can make it retroactive to the 1-year anniversary? It's up to you.
I'll take the suggestions of my fellow council members on that.
Well, you didn't get a second yet.
Yeah,
You did? Wait, who did?
I will.
You will, okay.
Do you have?
So, do you have a date?
I'd like to hear what my fellow council members like to
I mean, I
say.
haven't done
and then
this
before we
before
go.
as far as this goes, so any recommendations, Councilmember?
Yeah, I'll
Horvath?
wait till he calls me.
I'm fine at the year anniversary. That's fine.
All right, that's fine. Yeah, year anniversary.
Which is November, beginning of November?
October or something.
November.
Yeah, it's in November. I don't have I think it's November 16th, if I recall correctly, but we would want it to be effective with the first full pay period.
November 26, 2021, the city of Redondo Beach entered an at-will employment agreement.
Yeah, so we're going to want to do a full, I mean, if that's the motion, we want to make sure it aligns with the pay period, so we don't
The
have.
first full pay period after,
The contract.
after the 1 year anniversary of the contract, yeah.
So amended my motion to reflect that.
Okay. All right, Councilmember Horvath.
Yeah, I'll just say, yeah, I mean, clearly I just seconded the motion, but I would concur with my two colleagues on the right and left. Last year, I can't remember exactly, but I believe we actually should have set the pay a little bit higher personally. And so to me, it makes sense to go there this year. You've had a year to see Mike in action. And the one thing I appreciate about Mike, as I appreciate about any employee, Mike has served as Community Services Director, which is a very big department. He served as the Public Works Director, another very big and important department, and then as the Assistant City Manager. And really, you know, I think for those of us who have served with him for a long time, found that between him and the previous city manager, there were certain things you went to the city manager for and certain things you went to Mike for. Mike has a fully comprehensive understanding of the organization, and to the points made by the speakers, he really understands the town, and that is more valuable than, you know, just having somebody with, you know, broader, say, city management experience. So I think it's been a great first year. I look forward to watching you from afar in the future. And so, again, I would concur with that and with the retroactivity as we just agreed to.
Okay, Councilmember Baji.
And I just wanted to state for the resident, for my constituents down in District 4 who may be watching, this isn't to say that I think that the city is moving at the pace it should be moving with regard to Artesia Boulevard developments. I think we're moving faster than the city's ever moved to remove the barriers to development on Artesia Boulevard. I've imparted upon Mr. Wazanski time and again how important it is that we get going on things like removing the parking restrictions, increasing the FAR, and even providing some incentives for lot consolidation. But I think that the best way, my philosophy on employment, and I think I've had good luck with maintaining long-term employees, is you give them, you reward their great work. And by doing so with positive affirmation, get them to continue to do better work where you need them to do better work. And so I appreciate the concurrence from my fellow council members.
Okay, no further comments on council. Any more comments from the public? Anyone? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Nope, pass unanimously.
If I could just say one thing, Mr. Mayor
we should
Pro
ask
Tem.
you.
I continue to be humbled by this opportunity. I continue to love what we do here in the city. It's been a pleasure to work with all of you, with the members of our community who have given a lot of their time personally on a volunteer basis to help move us forward. And we will continue to strive each and every day to get better and to perform at the pace that you all, I know, would like to see. So just grateful, and thank you very much for your consideration tonight.
All right, thank you, sir. All right, that brings us to item L1, thank you. L1 is a public hearing. Let's see here. Adopt the 5-year permanent local housing allocation plan, So we're gonna have to open up the public hearing. Actually, first, sorry, take it back. Need to do ex parte first, and then we'll open up public hearing, take some public comment, and then close public hearing and go from there. Any ex parte? Councilmember Lowenstein.
On the side of none, thank you.
Councilmember Horvath.
No.
Councilmember Obaji.
No.
Councilmember MD.
City Attorney Mike Webb.
Okay. And myself, none.
Remember? I'm really hurt.
What?
He doesn't remember talking to me about it.
All right. For myself, no member, only members of the public, and that is it. So can I get a motion to open the public hearing?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right. So public hearing is open. Joy, you have the floor for.
If I may, just as part of the mayor and council asking us to take the lead on homeless efforts, it's more than homeless court and mental health court. We've been interacting with many different agencies, one of them being the county CEO's office. We became aware of funding that was specifically set aside for the city in 2019, and the city had not applied for it. The deadline was November 30th of this past year. Joy will talk to you about our interaction with the assistant to the city manager, Ms. House, and how it came to be that this is before you. But Joy, I'll turn it over to you.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and Council. Joy Ford, Quality of Life Prosecutor. I am here tonight to present on the Permanent Local Housing Allocation, PLHA. As Mr. Webb mentioned, we first learned about it from the CEO HI office. Ms. Ashley O and Sherry Diaz was working with our office on trying to fund and continue the Redondo Beach Pallet Shelter. They brought this state allocation to our attention. And so when we started looking into it, we were working with the city manager's office and Ms. House. SCAG offered to submit the application on our behalf. And so we have been working with SCAG on the application and submission of that. Based on the PLHA estimates, we will be receiving at least, hopefully, $784,980,000 from this allocation. We already know that what we are receiving for the past 3 years, from 2019 to 2021, and the estimates are based on the transaction fees of real estate. So this is just the estimate that the state provides. So the amounts at the bottom are already determined, and we will find out what we will receive for 2022 and 2023. But the $784,980,000 is the estimate that the state has provided at this time. And so the plan for PLHA is to go towards the operating cost of the pallet shelter. And this is a good opportunity to show what the Redondo leadership class has done for the pallet shelter in terms of the beautification in the pictures. So here we see the new paint. 5 new pallet shelters have been added, and they also provided this lovely gazebo, as well as the mats that you see, and several donations to the residents there. There are some amendments that need to be made from the plan. On page 5 of the plan, titled 302C4, going down, a sentence was added. The PLHA allocation will be used for the city's share of annual operating costs for the pallet shelter village. In this section, for the type of activity, the word operating
was substituted. It previously said capital, but it's actually going towards operations. And we did enter some number of people that were served through the pallet shelter. It previously had 0, 0, 0, 20. And at the very end, the sentence was changed from capital to operating cost.
So you'd be approving that as amended from what SCAG submitted, because SCAG didn't realize that we had served those people.
Can you scroll up real quick?
Yes.
The bottom number there? The 20, 15, 25, 23, 20?
Yes. So this is based on the reports that Harbor Interfaith, who manages Pallet Shelter, have provided. And in 2020, which is when it opened, December of 2020, we know 15 people entered the Pallet Shelter. In 2021, in addition to those 15 people, another 25 people went through the Pallet Shelter. In 2022, as of the time yesterday, I guess, another 23 people went through the Pallet Shelter. And then we're just estimating another 20 people will be helped in 2023.
So that's people who are living in the pallet shelter plus have graduated on.
It includes the people that have graduated. Not every person was permanently housed, but it includes the people that were permanently housed and are currently staying at the pallet shelter.
And the cumulative total is on the far right. So that's per year.
And with the 20 estimate for 2023. So about 63 people helped.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's right. That's 2023. Okay, got it. Okay.
And this is important because, as you know, the county, Ashley and Sharadias have been very cooperative, but the county is tried to, a priority for them is equity, and they don't want to provide more money per bed than they do elsewhere in the county. And so this will provide a unique source of funds that we haven't ever had because we never applied for it. The city never applied for it. And you're not locked into it. If for any reason the county, the council decides in the future to shut down the pallet shelters, all that you would have to do is have a new public hearing and adopt a new plan.
Correct. So at this time, we ask that you take testimony and then close the public hearing, adopt the resolution adopting the 5-year plan with the amendments, and authorize the city manager to execute any and all necessary documents.
Okay, thank you. All right, there's no council speakers. Is there anyone from the public want to come down and speak to this?
I think it's a great idea. I would support it wholeheartedly. One thing I would like to suggest is that I know when we first started this program, we called it the pallet shelter because the company, I believe, is named Pallet that actually provides these shelters. Maybe an idea going forward might be to rename it. Maybe something like Fresh Start, Safe Shelter, Second Chance, something like that. I think might be a little bit more appealing to the public and actually says what you guys are really doing. Thank you.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point, actually, because we started this before everyone else really started conversing about it, and we started talking about the actual name of these pallet shelters, because that's what the name of the company is. But other cities have called them tiny homes. So I actually would recommend from now on us kind of talking about them as tiny homes or little mobile mini homes or cute little something or another. I don't know, something maybe in Spanish. Combined, there you go. So that's what I would agree, because we've gotten to a point now where, and when I describe to other cities, and I always use the term pallet shelter, but they're like looking at me like, what, huh? And I'm like, the tiny homes. Like, oh, tiny homes. I got it. Yes, understand. All right, Councilmember Horvath.
You want to finish with the public?
Anyone else from public? No. All right.
No one on Zoom and no e-comments either.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Horvath.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Hold on.
Okay.
Councilmember MD.
I just want to make it clear that this is actually past expenses that are getting paid for. This isn't future. We're not at, this is, and it's still the houses are there on an emergency because of an emergency order only. Once that emergency is lifted, those homes can't be there anymore, correct?
Unless we rezone it.
Right. So, all right. So I just wanted to make sure that's clear that for, this isn't new, this isn't future funding, it's current funding. And so, yeah, I would also, unless there's someone else who wants to speak, to close the public hearings or someone else.
Councilmember Abaji.
Sure. When I see a apple cart, I don't, inherently want to walk over and tip it over. And since the pallet shelters are working just fine as is, I wouldn't rename them or change their name or do anything that could potentially send the message to anybody that they're more permanent or being built up more than they are. They're staying exactly where they are. They're still temporary. They could be moved if they need to be. They don't need to be. They're perfectly fine where they are. I love what the Chamber of Commerce did, the leadership class did there, and it's a great program that is thriving. So that's all. I wouldn't mess with a good thing.
I'm like temporary small housing.
Pallet shelter.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't, if I may, so the 784,000 you detailed 2019 through 2021, will that be used? I know that we've expended money already. That'll be used for future expenses since we've received it, or is this?
It's a better question for community services, and they're not here because this clearly fits within their wheelhouse. And Ms. House was very, she guilted me into doing this. So,
wow, she's effective.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll withdraw that question then.
Yeah, so it will be up to community services to carry out and make certain that the funds can be used to pay back the funds that were used for the 2019, 2020, 21 year.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, Councilmember Horvath, do you want to close the public hearing?
Motion to close public hearing.
Oh, man.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
And then I will make a motion to adopt by title only Resolution CC 2212-114 and adopt the 5-year permanent local housing plan for the program.
Second.
All right, motion on the floor, adopt as is. Any discussion?
With amendments.
Oh, as amended.
As amended. Thank you for qualifying that. Any other discussion on that? All right, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Nope. All right, passed unanimously. Would you like to read something?
I do. Council adopted by title only resolution number CC-2212-114, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Redondo Beach, California, authorizing the application and adopting the 5-year permanent local housing plan for the PLHA program as amended.
Okay, thank you. So onward to item N1. Correct? All right, Ms. Forbes, we are talking about finalization, proposed ordinance amending, implementing ordinance setbacks for accessory structures, residential zones, including building and dwelling units. The good old AC and mechanical equipment conversation in side yard setbacks.
That's correct. So we, the city council had done a referral to staff about 1.5 years ago. With COVID, there were a lot of inquiries about installing air conditioner units, and a lot of the sites are already built out to the setbacks. So right now, our code does not allow air conditioning units, water heater. It does allow water heaters, doesn't allow air conditioning units, water softeners, other mechanical equipment, and the required setbacks, both side yard, rear yard, and then the setbacks between the dwelling units on the multifamily. And the city council, the planning commission made their recommendations, the city council had, we were moving forward with the ordinances. And in the discussion at the public hearing on this on July 5th, city council recognized that there might be some difficulties in enforcement of the noise portion of this, and asked that we come back to address what are the capabilities for enforcing that. And I think the biggest issue was more in the side yard setback, because the rear setback, you're going to be a lot further from the neighboring dwelling unit behind. Setbacks between buildings is a 20-foot, so it's a larger distance, versus the side yard setback could be as small as 3 feet. So 3 feet and 3 feet, it's, 6 feet between, two dwelling units, 10 feet on R1 properties. So really the concern was, allowing these in the side yard setback. Are we creating, an attractive nuisance by allowing something that may not even be enforceable as far as the noise? So with that, can you go ahead and share the presentation? This is going to be a pretty brief presentation, but more opening up for the discussion. So just showing you here, this is where we landed. We had a public hearing in June that was continued to July 5th. This is where we landed on what to allow. But the question then was on the side setbacks, and are we going to allow air conditioners to project into those side setbacks? And we also talked about the noise level, not emitting a level greater than 55 decibels or having manufacturer rating exceeding 55 decibels, and that's measured at the unit itself. But then there was still that concern of, can we even do the enforcement of that? How would we do the enforcement of that in the police department? So the Redondo Beach PD did some research, reached out to different municipalities, and LAPD was really the most robust of what was available for actually doing sound monitoring, having they actually have a unit that really addresses this. They gave a sound monitoring device demonstration to our representatives of our police department. We got cost estimates on the devices. There's going to be also significant training commitment, but there were challenges. What we discovered was that there were more challenges with our existing noise ordinance. Investigating loud sound involves, comparison of the ambient sound levels. So they take the measurement with what the current ambient is, and then what the noise, then adding that noise as it's introduced, doing the comparison. And where we are in our noise ordinance, it's very little that you can, differential. So just about anything is going to trigger that. And then also our, current sound decibel benchmarks in our code are from 1976. So our built environment has changed, and where that initial ambient sound level was in 76, and what's allowed as far as the differential in our code is, from something that's a little more outdated, and where the ambient level was at something much lower back in 76. And then measuring at night, that ambient level is significantly lower, and any introduced noise will, like I said, will typically exceed the comparison threshold that's permitted. With that, we have a couple of things. One is a recommendation for council to direct staff to really look at those, the ambient levels of the current noise ordinance, perhaps doing a study to determine what, how those could be adjusted, looking at appropriate modifications to our municipal code that will allow for the differential to be appropriate to what today's standards are, and then as well for some things that might be a sustained noise, such as if there's a permitted concert or street festival, that making sure that the school events, that those things are not going to be counted or that they're exempted. And then in the interim, while we're working on that noise ordinance, the recommendation would be so that we're not just having people sit there in this limbo about having air conditioner units, is a solution of allowing the mechanical and electrical and plumbing equipment, plumbing equipment, within the rear yard setback, or for multifamily structures, that setback between buildings. And that it be located no closer than 10 feet from the property line. And I'm looking to recommending adding that because in our last conversation, there was a question about what about ADUs, right? ADUs are going to have a smaller setback. So at least with this, it would be no closer than 10 feet from the property line. And then we could bring that ordinance back to you with those modifications, and then revisit allowing it in the side yard setbacks at such time that we have really looked at the noise ordinance and the ability to do the enforcement of that. And with that, I also have the police chief is here as well to answer any questions on the enforcement and on the equipment that they saw demonstrated.
Okay, thank you. So, after thinking about this last time, I talked to a bunch of people about this, and I want to remind everyone regarding all this that, one unit might be one thing, but all of a sudden you get like 5 or 6 or 7, that noise starts building up. Like one candle is not much, but you get 50 in this room when it's dark and it's not much. But you get 50 candles in this room, you'll get a pretty good amount of light. Same kind of concept. Especially at night. So something that happens at night is much louder when it's ambient, like talked about here in the staff report, much louder than, say, daytime levels where you have the ambient background noise. And also, I know you're not putting on the roof here, but not allowing it on the first story roof, only allowing it on the maximum height level, because as someone correctly identified to me, if someone's only has a 1-story and the other places are 2 stories, that noise is going to go right into their people's windows. And if you have it on the very top of the roof, then nobody can go build higher than that, so that wouldn't affect other people. And I definitely do feel that these recommendations of updating our noise regulation and enforcements are very important that we get to those first. And I do agree with your interim solution of allowing mechanical electrical equipment within the rear setback, or for multifamily structures, the setback between buildings that the equipment be located no closer than 10 feet from property line. I would agree with that, as long as it's not, again, my concern is all of a sudden something shows up, and then all of a sudden that one piece of equipment that was approved now gets changed out for something else. I do still have a concern with what happens after 5 years and that piece of equipment gets really, really loud, because somebody might not maintain that piece of equipment. So those are my thoughts on this. Any comments on that, Brandy?
I was just going to also mention for the 10 feet, really looking at the code, the smallest rear yard setback is in the R2, R3. It's an average of 15 feet, but at no point less than 10 feet. So that's kind of where we were like, if they're averaging, then there might be some space in that rear yard that they might be able to locate. It may be in that averaging, but it wouldn't be closer than the 10 feet, which is the closest that the house would be to the property line.
Okay.
The other thing I would add is, I think, Councilman, you've correctly identified what we're trying to accomplish here with this is, for those, that failed mechanical equipment that you describe, ideally, we'll have updated our noise ordinance and have a means to address that in that scenario, as opposed to only upon permitting of initial structure. And, but we've got, as Brandy described, we've got a lot of work to do to update and contemporize our code in that regard. Even though there's some good guts there in the noise ordinance, we need to modernize it, understand current ambient levels, and really look at our enforcement and tools that we're going to need to acquire to be effective in that regard.
Okay. Councilmember Lowenstein.
Yeah, I want to thank you for the report, and also I support as well, updating our noise regulation. It's not there. So I'm really happy for that. Help me visualize this. So the 10 feet from the property line. So you're saying in the backyard, if there's an ADU, the property line being the neighbor behind them, you can't locate, for example, an air conditioning unit no less than 10 feet from the back.
What we have here is any property line. So, for this situation with an ADU, they could be, if they're actually converting a garage, the garage could be on the property line. The side and rear yard setbacks for ADUs is like 4 feet. So that was the concern is, well, if you allow it in, the required rear setback, well, technically for an ADU, it's 4 feet. So we wanted to make sure that it's the situation where if there's an ADU there, they're bringing the ADU back around. So it's in between the buildings. So it's in between the main dwelling unit and the ADU itself. And it's not in that 4 foot rear setback.
Okay, so what if you had two on a lot? Okay, and you wanted to put an air conditioning unit or a water heater, or whatever it is. How does that apply? Because if you have two on a lot, it's the same piece of property, but they're subdivided. Basically, they're split, right? So what would it be there? 10 feet from the front unit or 10 feet from the back unit?
So
how would that work?
So with that, it'd be allowed within the setback between those. If they're separated structures, it could be within the setback between them, or that rear structure is going to, that's where I was mentioning where it's going to have an average of 15-foot setback, but no less than 10 feet. So even if they end up averaging, normally they're going to do 15 feet. So they wouldn't be able to go closer than 10 feet from that the rear lot line.
Okay, so let's say they're not separated. They're joined in a common wall. Could they put, let's say the front unit doesn't have a backyard, for example. Where would they put the unit?
They could put it on a balcony. If they have a balcony, if they had a roof deck, they could put it on that.
But it would have to be facing in the front. It can't be on the side, obviously, right?
It can't be in the required side yard setback. So, it could be, because that side yard setback is going to be, 5 feet from the property line. So, if they have their balcony there, then they could currently locate it on their balcony there.
If they had a dog run, for example, I mean, most properties, like say 2 and a lot or 3 and a lot, don't have 10 feet between the side property line and the building.
Right. I'm going to correct what I said earlier. It's the 10 feet from the no closer than 10 feet from the rear property line, not the side. So if they had, as long as they're meeting their side yard setbacks, if they have it, even further out than that, if they have it on a balcony that's, more than the side yard setback requirement, they could put it in there and they can locate it there now.
Okay, so they could put it in a balcony. And what would the setback be that would be from, say, the side? If the balcony was facing the side, what would it be there? I'm just trying to picture this.
Well, it depends on what the size of their balcony is. They're probably not going to distance it far from the home just because of, practicality of the mechanical equipment.
Right.
So they're probably going to have it closer to the home. If they had a 5 or 10 foot width of balcony, it would probably, be 2.5 to anywhere from 2.5 to 7.5 feet from the end of that, the edge of that balcony, which would be the side yard.
Okay.
But right now, again, that's permitted now in the regulations.
Okay. I'm a visual person, so I'd have
Right.
to. I'm just trying to picture, because I know there's a lot of 2 and a lots, a lot of 3 and a lots. Some people are talking about adding air conditioning. I'm just trying to visualize this and how it actually works.
Brandy, it might help to answer how close can the edge of the balcony be to the side yard's property line?
The edge of the balcony could be to the side yard setback.
Which is 5 feet?
Yeah.
So
it would be on a R2, R3, yeah.
Let's say no side setbacks are less than 5 feet. They're all 5 feet or greater. right?
The only, R1A would be the only place that,
It's
but,
less.
yeah, but that's not going to have multifamily on
Right.
it, yeah.
Right, okay. I think I understand it now. Thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Horvath.
So I just want to pick up where he's leaving off.
It's still
For
confusing.
two reasons, because, when you look at most of the R2s or the R3s, right? The one side of the house is basically an alleyway, right? And the other side is the driveway, which creates the access to the three, garages. And so I'm trying to figure out where the front two units would put something, because there's no balconies on the tighter side, right? There maybe is sometimes a balcony on the driveway side, but it's usually the front or the back unit. The middle unit, definitely not, because cars have to be able to ingress and egress.
They each have a required outdoor living space. So each unit would have some required outdoor living space.
But then you're impeding on the outdoor living space
Agreed.
by putting a mechanical unit, which to me seems defeatist for the idea of promoting outdoor living space. Just
I understand what you're saying.
So that's my concern about,
Defeatist from that perspective, but respectful of the neighbor who is further impacted potentially by the noise that comes from the unit itself.
I get that.
That's the
That's
opposite.
not the intent of living space.
Right.
So
Agreed. And to that point, ideally, they wouldn't just build all the way out, or they would have incorporated the air conditioner unit into the initial design. That's not where we're at. That's not the reality of how these were designed and built. Yeah.
yes, clearly builders just did not really think through where things were going to be at this day and age. But that aside. Okay, so in the R1A, right, where my home is, I only think I've got maybe 11 or 12 feet from the back of the house to the property line. So is that 10 feet from the edge of the unit that's protruding to the property line, or is it from, I'm just thinking that, I can't do it, if we're saying that it has to be a straight 10 feet.
I mean,
I don't know. I'm just asking, because it feels like we're.
you may have, is there there may be averaging in that, the point of what we talked about was just that making sure that, the lowest that it would be an average of the 15 feet with, 10 feet being the minimum. So there'd be some area where it would have been averaged where it's further.
I just want to make sure, because, a handful of the people that had contacted me about this, right? There was a property in the Franklin Park neighborhood that had a very weird property design where it ended up that they couldn't comply with the rear setback either, just because of the way the house had been built and how little space there was. So I want to make sure that whatever we're doing, even if we go with the staff recommendation to kind of do a interim process, that we don't automatically just cut out people who by default can't meet the requirements that we're setting. Does that make sense?
And ultimately for that particular, say it was 11 feet or 12 feet, you might be able to get a mini split for whatever that room is. That may not cool your whole home, but it may at least give some relief until that we get past the interim measure and we can, determine something else. But I would venture that there's going to be some averaging where you're going to have an area that's set back and would give you the space to do that. But I haven't seen your site plan.
No, I get it. All right. So it's not ideal. I'm going to support the interim measure, because I feel like it's what we need to do to kind of get our house in order, especially with regards to the noise regulations. But I would recommend that we really actually follow through on that, and then the future council revisits this at the nearest time possible to try to take corrective action and make it work.
Yeah.
To Christian's point, sorry to follow up.
No, that's good.
But to not impede on the living space, let's say you wanted to put it on the balcony, but if you put it on the outside of the balcony versus the inside of the balcony, on a ledge, for example, so you wouldn't impede on the living space, outdoor living space, is that a possible, you'd mount it on the other side of the balcony where it faces out?
Yeah, if they were doing like a mini split, they're
Well, I'm not talking about one of the big
Right,
compressors
right. Yes.
Mini split, which are what? They're like this versus.
It would just, because I think, it really depends on how that balcony was constructed. So,
Right.
and I know to your point, I'm like trying to visually.
It's really
imagine.
hard to
Right.
to think about it. Yeah.
Right. I'm going to guess that they're going to value their outdoor living space as well, but they
Right.
also recognize that there's a balance. So, ideally it would be nice if they went with smaller units. If there is space that's still outside of the required setback, that is next to a balcony, but not part of the balcony, that would be allowed.
It would be long. Okay. There's no cookie cutter here.
Right.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, Councilmember Bocci.
Could we hear from the seekers? Because they had, I think Mr. Seeker had reached out to me and I never got to return his call.
So you want to go to public comment?
Yeah, if we could go to
Okay.
public comment.
The first two people up are Douglas Seeker and then Elaine Seeker. And after that, we'll take everyone else.
Good evening, Council. There are some trends in life we can embrace, some we can alter, and some we can reverse. One trend we most certainly cannot ignore, much less nurture, is the growing trend of dismissiveness and disregard for our fellow neighbor and the diminishment of our individual rights by one strata of our society over another. We are all familiar with the original golden rule: treat others as we want to be treated, and the other golden rule: he who has the gold makes the rules. This very council, to its great credit, takes seriously its duty and responsibility to debate issues brought before it and has made and contributed to decisions that benefited the whole of our city's residents over the favor of just a few. Tonight, this council will debate and possibly decide if AC units should be allowed into our residential side setbacks. We might be all well served to remember those former city planners and city councils that understood the necessity and importance of having quiet buffer zones between neighbors. These sound and sage prescriptions were and still are true and valid today. Right now, Redondo residents have a variety of viable options as to where an AC unit can be installed around or in their home. There is the rear setback, setbacks between buildings, front setbacks, rooftops, and portable indoor units that can be moved from room to room. Right now, how many options in comparison does the neighbor whose bedrooms or living rooms, which are only a few feet away from the side setback, have when an AC compressor is going off and on throughout the day or night and can be heard through open and closed windows? Move into another room, if it is even possible, or just entirely move. Not many viable options here, folks. Just move along. Why should the comfort of one neighbor be allowed to distress and diminish the quality of life of another neighbor when so many other options to place an AC unit elsewhere exist? Still another looming negative for allowing AC units in residential side setbacks is the problem of enforcing decibel limit violations. Presently, our police department has neither the sound recording equipment, nor the trained personnel, nor the discretionary funds to acquire, maintain, and annually certify both in order to defend challenges by residents receiving citations for decibel limit violations. The financial commitment to institute such a program, much less the legacy costs, are substantial and just not warranted. Therefore, in conclusion, let's remember that old but wise adage: if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Please keep the residential side setback as it is now, free and clear of all noise-making machinery. Thank you, and I'd like to...
All right, motion received and filed.
Second.
Can I ask a follow-up question, Mr. Seeker?
Yeah, absolutely.
So question for you, Mr. Seeker. Do you think that everybody should be entitled to get AC in the rising climate environment, that if they can, they can afford to get a unit, that they should be able to cool down their house with mechanical equipment?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so, and I agree with you there. So my question is, where do we think people should put the mechanical equipment for their ACs if they have, for example, a sloped roof and they can't put the ACs on their roof?
Okay, there's front setbacks. There are homes in my neighborhood that have put their AC unit that they had to move, that they installed in side setbacks, they moved them to the front. And there is no problem with that at all. You have, a 30-foot wide street, then you have the sidewalk, then you have the neighbors across. I've personally been there and listened to them. It's no interruption at all. So a front setback is doable on some residences. Then we were also shopping air conditioners. They have now room air conditioners with humidifiers that capture the moisture from the air conditioner and then use that to humidify the room so the air conditioning doesn't dry it out. Portable, can be moved from room to room. So that can meet the medical necessities of people who may be in bed or choose to go room to room. Those units aren't expensive. I think I saw them like $269, $379 a piece. So they could have them in individual rooms. Then there's the mini splits that can be put, and window air conditioners. So yes, there are times in our community where it gets hot, but there's much more times that an open window and we have cool air. That's just the way it is. It's not like we're living in Palm Springs or we're living in 4 extreme seasons. There are more viable options than that family where the bedrooms and the living rooms may be 3 feet, 4 feet, 5 feet from that fence. The other person puts in a big compressor, it hits the hardscape, bounces up and comes into their open windows. They can put in a window air conditioner. So there's options that more people have than not.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Forbes, regarding the roof, if there's a curved or angled roof, we can still design things engineered to be put on a roof. There's nothing that stops. It takes a little bit more engineering or time or building,
It
right?
can, it's certainly not, if it wasn't initially designed, there can be complexities if it, wasn't built to hold that structure and they do have to reinforce. It certainly can be designed, an engineer, just about anything can for a cost.
Right.
But, it
Can be done.
it
That's
can
not
be
the
done.
question.
We haven't had any applicants come in and say that, recognize that it couldn't physically be done on their roof. It's just that, they may end up, waiting to see what the city council determines because of what that may do, how that might impact, the design of their home or the cost of it. Yeah.
Got it. Okay, Elaine Seeker. After that, it's open mic. Anyone else wants to come down and speak? More than happy to.
Good evening. The residential side setback.
Can you introduce yourself and city, please?
Oh, my name is Elaine Seeker, and I'm in District Number 5.
Thank you.
Okay. The residential side setback has been a designated buffer zone of quietness between neighbors for decades, primarily because it is an area that is vulnerable to the magnifying and intensifying of all kinds of noises due to its tightly condensed space and echo chamber properties. Plumbing or mechanical equipment has not been allowed into the residential side setback for very good reasons. They produce disruptive and disturbing nuisance noises all throughout the day and sleeping hours, which prohibits the quiet use and enjoyment of a neighboring resident. As well, this type of chronically interruptive noise has been proven to contribute to a whole host of mental health distresses and physiological disorders. Since nearly all types of plumbing and mechanical equipment have been allowed into all the other existing setbacks, there is no reasonable and rational justification in making modifications or allowances for them to now be installed into the residential side setback. Personal experience with neighbors who have installed noise-making machines into their side setback has given me firsthand knowledge of what it is like to live next door to an air conditioner and a water softener machine that goes on and off all night long. It was completely unnecessary and illegal for these machines to be installed into the side setback. As you probably already know, it took 10 years of wrangling with the city to have the air conditioner to be relocated into the rear setback where it is no longer been a nuisance. And thankfully, the water softener was relocated into the garage, restoring peace and quiet. Allowing all sorts of noise-making plumbing and mechanical equipment to be installed into the residential side setback is not a wise, fair, or logical decision. There is presently a variety of other areas for these kinds of equipment to be located. Yet there are only drastic and inequitable solutions available for the adversely impacted neighbor, such as having to close windows, which cuts off the flow of fresh air, or not being able to enjoy the quiet use of a room for its intended uses. This puts the negatively affected neighbor at a burdensome, stressful, and unfair disadvantage, to say the least. Residents have not been unduly restricted nor prevented from installing their air conditioning units into other readily available areas around and throughout the residence, and are not suffering because of that very fact. If the city council approves air conditioner units and other noise-making machines into the residential side setback, the ones who unequivocally will suffer are those unfortunate next-door neighbors who just want to enjoy and live in a peaceful, quiet, healthy, and less stressful residential environment. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Motion to receive and file. Okay.
Are we supposed to have votes on those? We don't just do a motion.
Yes.
and a second.
Any objections?
Oh, there you go.
No.
No.
All right, Councilmember Baji.
All right.
No?
Just saying, there's no
No,
objection, but the point is just procedurally, you should have a vote
Procedurally,
on
any
that.
objections? You're right. I
Okay.
should be asking.
Yes, exactly.
All right. Director Forbes, question for you. If we adopt this interim ordinance, and somebody can place an AC unit no closer than 10 feet from the property line, I'm thinking of my 3 on a lot. I don't think that side yard where the driveway isn't located, opposite the driveway, is wider than 10 feet. And so, or even 10 feet. So you're meaning the driveway side is where the AC would have to go potentially, or their balcony?
Yeah, it wouldn't be allowed in the side yard setback. The 10 feet, I corrected myself. I was saying that would be 10 feet for the, from the rear property line. You can certainly make an adjustment if you wanted to.
From the rear
Yeah.
property line.
They certainly, if there's.
So when you say that they would be allowed for multifamily structures in the setbacks between buildings?
Yeah, so not all multifamily, sometimes they're separate units on a lot. So, and there's a 20-foot setback between those dwelling units.
So they could be between those two?
It could be in that setback. So we want to make sure that that's an available
Okay.
location. Just so you know, currently the code doesn't allow it in any of those required setbacks, whether it's side, rear, or in between
Okay.
buildings. A previous director had interpreted it of just not in the side yard because of noise. But when you really look at the code, it doesn't allow it within any of those setbacks. So when I was asked then by a resident to revisit that interpretation, I'm like, well, technically, and it's not allowed in any of them, and now we're in this predicament.
So let me say, on the 2 on the lots, that makes total sense to me, because when they build those 2 on the lots, they're putting no windows on the front unit facing backwards, because it would be peering into, and if they are, they're like frosted windows, because they're peering back into the front yard or rear yard of the neighbors. So I think that they're kind of designed to allow that if they weren't built with ACs. Do you know if in the applications that you currently have, you have applications from 3 on a lot owners?
A lot of it is, a lot of what we see is single family in the requests that we've had. There are some where they do have the required setback, the 20-foot between them and the next house on the lot. I don't know that we've had anywhere there was that concern that they're like the middle unit and they couldn't, I don't know if we've had those applications.
Okay.
I'd have, that's, anecdotally, I'd have to check with staff.
What is the change? There would be no effective change then for a 3 on a lot, except to allow potentially them to put a AC unit in their driveway. So it's not blocking a vehicle, so long as it's not blocking a vehicle, right?
Right. I mean, they could do that actually now. I mean, as long as they've got the drive aisle that's allowed, that you may be able to get a unit in there.
Yeah, I just don't want to provide a solution to a problem that doesn't exist in the R3 especially, or make any changes to their point where we are harming, benefiting one neighbor to the detriment of another neighbor who can't afford an AC unit, needs to open their window and now has got this loud AC unit right next to them. So no, okay. I'm fine with this, and I certainly support updating our sound ordinances and capacities. That's it. Thank you. If there's nobody else, I'll make a motion to.
No one else?
Yeah, no one else. I'll make the motion to adopt all of staff's recommendations here.
And none of our recommendations, we're not doing a finalized ordinance, we're doing an interim ordinance for the backyard
Yeah, it'd be
area.
for the,
Nothing side yard.
right,
And-
nothing in the side yard.
Your slide
Yeah.
back up, that's what,
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Vicki.
yeah. That's
So-
what that's what you're motioning, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Direct
moving.
staff to return with the item describing approach, update the ambient levels and current noise ordinance, perfect. Does that also, say noise rate, enforcement, okay, that includes getting the device that we
Yeah.
need?
Yeah,
moving
we'll
forward?
bring recommendations for both of
training.
those. Yeah. Yep.
Got it. And final line ordinance as an interim solution, only mechanical, no closer to the property line, perfect.
And that will come back and notice, well, it's not a notice. Is it a notice?
Well,
'Cause
Yeah,
it's
we
not
have
a
to
change.
do
It is
a
a public hearing, yeah,
notice
so.
and bring that back.
Yeah.
And Brandy, will we still stay with the 55 decibel level that we set?
Yeah, I'll keep that in there, even though we know that, what'll be
Right.
great is that
Just
we'll
so
have,
that
we'll
we're not
have the
having-
mechanical specification. We just won't, have that ability to take the rating yet, yeah.
Any other public comment? Zoom comments?
There's one person, she has not raised her hand, and there are no new comments.
Okay, so just review, this is not going side yard setback. And this is only interim for the backyard, and if we do update anything, it'll have to come back for finalization. And there's a motion on the floor?
Second.
Okay, second? Comment?
No, I just was asking him if he ever got a second.
I wasn't
Oh,
sure,
no,
but
he had not.
We got an answer.
Yeah. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None. All right,
Thank
pass
you very
unanimously.
much.
Thank you. All right, so that gives us to item number P1.
We do have an O item there too, Mayor Pro Tem.
A what?
O items.
Oh, items, yes. Oh, Mayor, oh, yes.
Yeah, just, oh, yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Just one thing I did want to mention tonight, as we get close to the holiday season, early warning, we're doing this, it's on our website, we're noticing this on our public counters, but our typical holiday closure between the Christmas and New Year holidays is looming. So another opportunity for the public to be made aware, the last day City Hall will be open in the 22 calendar year is Wednesday, the 21st. So City Hall will be closed at the end of the day on the 21st and will reopen on Tuesday, January 3rd. So if you have building permit requests, you have questions, try to get those into us by Wednesday. We will, of course, accept applications electronically like we always have. If those are completed applications, deemed complete before the end of the calendar year, they will be subject to our traditional 2022 building codes. If they are submitted after the holiday or are incomplete by the end of the calendar year, they will fall into the newer category that comes online here effective January 1st. So we're trying to get the word out. As I said, our counters, we've got these posted displays. We're online noticing this, but this closure, it's an extended one this year given the timing of the holidays. So just fair warning, and to the extent that you can all get that word out,
Well, the
it's much
deadline is
appreciated.
December 21st at 5 p.m.
The City Hall will be open and through the end of the day on the 21st. We will continue to accept building applications electronically, as we always do, even over the break. But there is a caveat to that. In order to be subject to the 2022 building code standards, your application has to be deemed complete, which oftentimes our first applications are not. So if you are under duress or you are trying to get things done here quickly, I would strongly encourage our building community to come see our community development folks while City Hall is still open through the 21st. That's my update for tonight.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, that's it. All right. Item P1, appointing Mary Drummer to serve another 2-year term as city's representative on the LA County Vector Control Board of Trustees. And I apologize to her again. I was meeting with Councilmember Baji up on Artesia Boulevard on a separate item, and I saw, what's his name again?
Adam Wachter?
Adam Wachter. He ran for District 4 about, 2017. He said, hey, I'd like to do something. And I thought for some reason Mary stepped down from this board, but so much going on. And she quickly reminded me that actually her term is up the end of this year, and she is a registered nurse. I believe her education, her history is here. So Bachelor of Science in Nursing, University of Phoenix. Oops, let me zoom in, wrong button here, sorry. Associate and Applied Science degree in Nursing, Technical Community College, professional experience is practical nurse from, Long Beach Memorial Medical Center, legal nurse consultant, clinical shifts supervisor, Beach CHD volunteer, medical reserve, LA volunteer, active since 2005, FEMA trained to respond to natural and man-made disasters, extensive training in mosquito-borne illness and abatement and mass vaccination deployments, trustee appointed term to the Vector Control District since 2019. And I want to thank her back originally. She brought this to my attention way back originally. We didn't have anyone on this particular board, or seat, I should say, filled. And there's actually multiple Vector Control Districts in LA County. There's West, there's East, and I think there's one more somewhere. And it's a separate district, just like the water district and sanitation district. And we didn't have it. It went unfilled until she brought it to our attention. And she came down here last week. She has brought forward a lot of changes. She, when we assigned her in 2019, the website was literally made back from the 1990s, late 90s. Quite entertaining to see. And they have actually improved it significantly. And one of the reasons why Adam Wachter actually talked to me about it was because he had a great experience with the Vector Control District up in District 4. And he was interested in what was going on with that. So there's no real staff report that goes along with this. It's something we assign. They meet bi-monthly. And they talk about, it's more than just mosquitoes, folks. It's a bunch of other airborne diseases spread by creepy little crawlers. So, Councilmember Horvath, your hand is up.
Yeah, just wish happy birthday to Miss Drummer and motion to approve.
And Councilmember Emdy.
I was just going to make that same motion and also mention that I don't think that we should in perpetuity have Mary Drummer on there, but I mean, she's just been there since 2019. She definitely should have at least 1 or 2 more terms. So, we should give other people opportunities to be on there. But I think she just got elected, and like you said, she's the one who brought it to our attention that it was there. So no, I have no problem with having her go back on.
And Adam Wachter didn't exactly have the qualifications that she did. So if there's something with much better qualifications, and after she's done 2 or 3 terms here, then yeah, I agree with you.
I mean, technically their terms are small, but I mean,
Yeah.
it's only been 3 years. So
Right.
yeah,
Served a partial term and now.
exactly. So.
All right, any public comment to this? Anyone public? Any Zoom comments?
No, sir. And no comment.
And no comment. Thank you. All right, motion on the floor to reappoint her. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No, none. Perfect. Okay. All right, that brings us to the end. Actually, no, we have
Referrals to staff.
motions to staff. So, Councilmember Lowenstein.
I do have one.
Oh, there you go.
How rare. I would like a discussion about withholding our dues to the League of California Cities.
Thank you. I forgot.
Because we forgot it, and I don't even need to go into background. I just like to know when we can have this discussion.
Out of fairness, if we're going to do it, we should probably consider it and take action next week.
Yes.
If that's, I mean, we need to, if we're going to have that
But it's due
conversation.
in July.
No, we typically pay with the fiscal year calendar, but they are calendar year dues effective January 1. So the last thing I want to do, if depending on the council's ultimate decision here, is find ourselves in a pro rata scenario. So we'll, if that's the will of the council, we'll bring back the discussion next week.
Okay. And is next week also going to be, we're going to have a discussion on the Seaside Lagoon and selecting a design?
I believe, and I'll need to confirm this with Greg, who's out this week right now with due to sickness, but I believe our intention is to have the consulting agreement for design services for the lagoon on for the 20th. I do believe that's our intention. I will confirm that.
When is Mr. Cosmetic going to come and present again?
On
financing.
On bond activity. The Budget Finance Commission asked for a kind of a return visit, which I think we were targeting maybe in, it's probably going to be part of their February meeting, might be January. I just met with Stiefel. Bond market hasn't changed much. It's kind of just oscillating up and down. We're at about 4.5% right now at a borrow rate.
Okay.
So it's, it's going to ebb and flow.
It hasn't been forgotten. It's just coming.
Yeah, it's coming.
Okay, that's it then. Thank you.
Oh, you need a vote. We need a vote.
Oh, yeah. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
No.
One opposed. All right.
Is that a no, not opposed, or no, I say no?
I said no.
No, all right, got it.
Passes anyway.
All right. Councilmember Horvath.
Nothing this week.
Councilmember Baji.
Just when we have, I'd like to agendize when we have the discussion of the environmental review of increasing the FAR on Artesia to 0.6. I'd like us to also couple that with a staff item on developing an opportunity reserve or development opportunity reserve in the city, so that the 0.6 isn't just given out, but essentially people apply to the city for that density addition. And that be the new standard for Artesia Boulevard if we increase the density any further. It's called the Development Opportunity Reserve.
Yep.
When will that FAR discussion come back?
Scope of work for the environmental review was provided to the consultant by Greg and Sean last month. I believe we were thinking February or March for that environmental action. But I will confirm. I think we had it in the strategic plan for by March, I think. So we could certainly bring this conversation back as part of that.
All right. Second, anybody?
Second.
All right. Anyone have any questions on that? Comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Is that it?
That's it. Thank you.
All right. Councilmember MD.
So officially I've sent an email, but I would like to have the scouts get that permit going right away, because they do cooking all the time. Been doing it since 1957. And suddenly a police officer informed them that they can't do that. So let's, can we get that cleared up so that they can continue their
Yeah,
program?
we'll certainly look into it and figure out what's triggered that. It may be new county health environmental policy. I don't know.
Is it that they just need to apply for a permit?
That's what they were told, is they have to apply for, but they have been emailing for about 2 to 3 weeks to different people and haven't been able to get any kind of resolution, so.
Yeah, sounds like a job for an assistant city attorney. City
Manager.
manager, I mean.
Yeah.
Sorry, city manager.
It's in her inbox as of today, so.
I'll second that.
We'll look into that.
All right.
And so when, so we need to vote on that?
It's not really a motion.
Yeah, I mean,
It's your
we'll follow.
action,
Okay,
We'll follow.
like,
yeah, well, That's your experience, not mine. So speaking of when things are coming back, Manhattan Beach Boulevard, does it have to come back? Because we've already approved the plans. I mean, what's
Think about that tonight.
What?
It's been a while.
It's been a while. Well,
I was just thinking that,
the thing is that, when you said that your harbor is coming back in December, I said, Manhattan Beach Boulevard is supposed to be back in December too. And so, when's it
I'm not
coming?
even seeing work on it.
Ted's saying January. Yeah.
Now into January. Okay.
Did you pass it on to Cal Water? Is that? I was just kidding. Joke. It's a joke. Cal Water.
We can talk offline about it, but I just want to publicly say Manhattan Beach Boulevard.
And we do have to bring it back because we have to have you approve the final plan set and then authorize bidding. So that's the next
Authorize
step.
what?
Bidding. That's the next step.
Okay.
Good. So this morning I went to my monthly Revere bid meeting a week early. And we were discussing about, or they were discussing about business license checks, and their revenue is a little bit lower than previous years. And so the part of the conversation came up regarding the fire department checks, doing the fire department checks. We haven't had that discussion yet, reinstating that program. So that's still on the radar.
Yep.
And I guess business license checks, what are we doing to enforce to make sure people are paying for it? And if they're not, do we send reminders and there's an automated system?
Yes, we have the traditional reminders for those who have been historic business license owners. We were, as part of our fire inspection program, doing a bit of a double check as a checklist for that. With that suspension, we haven't been doing that. I'll have to check of late with our business license team as to what we're doing beyond just the traditional kind of letter campaign. We're not physically inspecting. I know that. Our closest thing to that was through the fire inspection program.
Okay.
But I mean, theoretically, it's part of our code enforcement efforts and all that we're doing. So something that could be added to our broader list. But quality of life team's pretty busy right now.
Okay.
Do you want to have a agendized discussion about business licensure, including enforcement? At some point?
No, that'll be more of a strategic plan.
Okay.
Yeah, we've got to get the fire inspection item back. That is being worked on. So you'll have
looked
that
at
fairly soon.
The Riviera bid revenues. I looked at that, and that was really because that's what we use to ensure that everyone's paying the bid fees and they're actually doing the business licenses. Because I'm suspecting that some people paid it once and not paying it again. So.
Well, that's why we asked the fire department, if you're going out there anyway, you might as well check. It was part of our, so that it was 4 or 5 years ago when we said, stop working in silos and have departments start working together on these kind of things. So, but if you stop the fire inspections.
No, their fees have gone down since 2019-20 when they had the highest, when they actually physically went out to every single building and knocked on every door and checked the bid.
Yeah, and that was the bid. That was Mr. Ginsburg himself spearheading that campaign. And
spearheaded, but he himself didn't do
he didn't do it all the work.
Oddly enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. That brought in some good money for everyone. All right. That's it. So that brings. Did we don't have anything in memory of, right, or anything? Perfect.
Motion to adjourn.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Seconded?
Laura.
She made the motion.
She did. He did.
Okay.
She did.
sorry.
We're doing leases next week.
Yeah.